Welcome, welcome, welcome. Simply Blue, welcome. Hello, B. B, you're muted, B. Mr. B.
Yes.
You're not muted now.
No. Sorry, I had to jump in the shower. It was sticky and hot.
Ew, gross.
Yeah. No.
So, how are you doing today?
Uh, I'm all right. Like I said, sticky and hot. I went to work out earlier and I passed out afterwards, so I didn't get much sleep. So, how are you?
Amazing,
Amazing.
amazing.
Yes, I
Sorry, I
see.
have sorry, I have two computers going here, so one is going to be for my notes, and the other one is the one that I'm on.
Did you see that on StreamYard you can now join the chat?
Do what?
The chat room. You can actually not only see it, but you can type in it.
Oh, I've always been able to type in it.
Without having a second window open?
Yeah,
Well, thanks for telling me.
yeah, it's at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I see that now. I always
Oh,
thought you had to.
maybe. Well, maybe you weren't able to before, but I could, as the host was able to. I believe.
Gotcha. Well, now that you're monetized, things are all kinds of special.
Well, I don't think that would have anything to do with StreamYard,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
but I don't know. Who knows? So, well, thank you for reminding me. I'm so excited. I feel like
Yes,
such a
yes.
big girl.
You're far from a big girl
Ah, why you got to pick on me like that?
because I can.
Okay, so we'll wait for a few people to get in here. There's probably other streams going.
There
And
is.
then our topic today is it's going to be an uncomfortable topic. Um but there is a lot of information that can be given to help. So, ooh, what does this button do? Oh, nothing. What does this one do? Oh, scoot us over there. Oh, what does this one do? Oh, I don't want to be big. At least not right now. All this interesting stuff to play with. Oh,
No.
look, I'm on top. You're on top of me. Oh, that's funny.
That's a lot of weight on you.
Oh, this
Is,
is
Sim-
funny.
is Simply Blue a new person?
I believe so. Welcome in, Simply Blue. Cheers. What are we cheersing to, Simply Blue?
I believe that's a way of saying hello.
Oh, it's a wee bit warm in here still. Hold on. Hopefully the fan isn't too loud. Oh, Marzi girl sent you. Well, tell her I said thank you. Oh, wrong mouse. So, hi B.
Hey.
I know. I'm wearing my little Sunday church outfit because
Yeah.
our topic today is about the FLDS. I figured it could be appropriate.
Yes, you. I could possibly even go into elaborate because I've never heard the shortened term, but I've heard of the
So what
organization. We'll call them, but
what the FLDS stands for is the Fundamentals Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. So it's the fundamentalists is what the F stands for. I have a pen for my notes.
I'm sorry, what was that? You broke up.
What do you mean I broke up? I've always been single.
Oh, God.
Okay. So what I was saying was FLDS. So you know LDS is the Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
FLDS is the fundamentals of the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Yeah.
Is that like a more extreme version?
I guess we're going to about to deep dive into it and figure out exactly what they are, what they do, and how it affects our communities.
Interesting.
Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It only takes a second. It doesn't cost anything. So let me throw my brand up here. Banner. My little banner in the bottom. Feel free to donate. We will not be doing bingo tonight, though. Just letting you guys know, no bingo tonight. We will be doing bingo again tomorrow night. Where is Marzi girl? I wonder where her is.
I would assume that other live that we discussed.
Oh, Bob's show.
Yes.
Gotcha. So let me do this. So let's get into some dirty little information.
Okay.
Let me pull up another tab over here. Just in case I get lag. Yeah. And I can share this screen. Present, share the screen. Hopefully I don't have too much trauma today. And yes, there is only one person viewing, but there's probably a couple of people on. But they will come in. They will. So what did you do today, B?
Not a whole lot. Like I said, it was a boring day. I took care of some stuff with this truck I have. I went to work with the physical therapist for a little bit. So hopefully I can go back to work next week. And I went and looked at a couple houses.
Oh, sounds like fun.
Yeah. It's it's a little different buying them the way I am, but it's kind of a crapshoot. It's you save a lot of money buying this way, but through the auctions, but you don't get to go inside the houses until you have to bought it. So you have to pay for it, and then you get to see what it looks like inside.
Wow. So is it like an open house?
No, it's a foreclosure auction.
Oh, explain.
So more or less, either someone passes away and there's no heir to the property, gets caught up in probate, and then nobody pays taxes on it, and the state takes the property back, or someone has fallen behind. Like one of them I went to go look at. It's a nice home. It looks like someone's living in it. And you can buy the home for what's owed on the back taxes right now, which was like $7,000.
And then you buy it for $7,000?
Well, you bid on it, but the opening bid was $7,000. Yes.
Wow.
So my thought is I've got two ways to look at the property. If someone's living in it, it's obviously habitable, or however you would say that. It's something you could
inhabitable.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. So it's something you could live in, but the other thing is uh, it gives. I mean, some people would say, I'm a jerk for doing that, but the other way to look at that is it could, somebody's going to buy it either way. I mean, the property's up for sale, so the way I look at it is I offer this person a chance to not have to move, and I can just rent them back the house, at a rate that they can afford until other housing can be found or whatever the case may be, without throwing them out of their home. The other way to look at it is, like I said, if it's not me, someone else is going to buy it because they are no reserve auctions, meaning that it absolutely will sell. So it could be someone else buying the place that doesn't have a heart and will toss them out on their behind.
Tossing them out on their hiney.
Yeah, without thinking twice about it.
Wow.
Like I said, if I get an opportunity to help someone and still help myself at the same time, I see it as a win-win for everybody.
So what types of houses are you looking at?
I've looked at all kinds. I found I actually just found a place that starting bid is $5,400, and it's on one of the Great Lakes here in Michigan. It's more of a, it's a smaller place. It's like 900 square foot, 2-bedroom, but it's got 553 foot of lakefront or beach. So something like that, I probably wouldn't live there immediately, but I could be like an Airbnb and then move there when I'm getting old and ready to retire. Or some of the other ones, like I said, single family homes that are in areas with decent rents that would make it worth it. I don't want to go to the ghetto and buy anything like that because unfortunately they don't really keep their value very well. But
yeah. And so if you say you get one that has somebody already in there, you would let them stay in their home.
Well, yes, you basically like any other rent. Because the problem is you don't know the circumstances. They could just be dirtballs that decide they didn't want to pay their bills. But if they were a homeowner at one point, the way I look at it is they probably don't want to give up their home. So you could look at it like they may not be in a financial situation that allows them to continue or maintain that lifestyle. They may not be able to keep, the upkeep or the maintenance on the home.
Right.
Obviously, if they can't afford the taxes on it, but they may be able to afford a less than market rate rent, and it saves me, the buyer, from having to find a new tenant and any complete rehab that would be involved with moving someone into it. Or you could look at it from the other side, or it saves them the hassle of, say it's a senior citizen. If it's an agreeable amount that you can both live with, it lets them finish out their time there with an income that a rent that doesn't embarrass them. They don't have to go to the family and tell them that they lost everything. All their friends, hey, I got to move because X, Y, and Z. They don't have to do that. It also saves them the hassle of moving. I mean, I don't know about you, but I personally hate moving.
Oh, yeah, that's not fun at all.
I mean, I don't love the place I'm in right now, but I have no desire to, pack up all the belongings that were in my. I mean, I've lived in this place now for 3 years, and after 3 years, I still haven't unpacked all the belongings from my storage unit.
From what?
I've still got a storage unit. I went through from a place that was 2,300 square foot to a place that's less than 1,000.
Wow.
So I have a lot of belongings that are stuck in a storage unit, but I have no desire to unpack them. Especially since
is it because you're planning on moving again, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, because I guess depending on what it is, like if it's like summertime and winter clothes, then I'll just leave until winter. But
Yeah, and that
most of the time, like I've always tried to get back to that comfortable space I was at before I had to move. So, but that's me. I like things to feel comfortable and at home.
and for me, I live very simple. I mean, it's and I'm lazy. I'll be honest. There's sometimes that it's not that I won't do work, but I work enough at my job that I don't want to do anything extracurricular. Like there are times where I know I've got something in my storage unit, and I'll just go buy another one.
Gotcha.
I was like air fryer, good example. I could have bought another. I did buy another one because I didn't want to dig through. I have a giant storage unit. It's probably about the size of a 3-car garage, and it's literally packed to the ceiling. And I have to be very careful when I open the door. It's one of those indoor ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be very careful when I open the door. So I'm not going to dig through all of that to go find a $75 air fryer. I'll just go buy another one. It was my mistake when I packed the stuff up. I was in a hurry, and unfortunately, I packed some of the things in the wrong place.
Right.
So
Then you have to go hunt it back down.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not going to dig through a 3-car garage worth of boxes. I mean, they're labeled, living room, winter clothes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you still got to dig through it.
Yeah.
I mean, I legitimately probably have a 2-car garage worth of just tools. And some of that stuff can be heavy.
So if you're just coming into this stream, please hit that like and subscribe button. Our topic today is the FDLS and what is it about? FLDS, sorry, my bad. Right. Little Jimmy, hi, love. Welcome back. So FLDS, Fundamentalists Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints. If chat knows what they are, can you type a 1 in chat? If you don't know what they are, type a 2.
Can I do a 1.5? I know a little bit.
Of what I just debriefed you on?
Yes.
Insanity.
It is.
And trust me, I am not here to, what's the word I'm looking for? Evangelize anyone. Especially in this department. And if you have any questions, type them in chat and I can star them and address them later. And why we're starring things. Thank you, B. You are my first super chat.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think we should start a competition to see who can super chat the most.
Super chat.
That's just my opinion.
Who can super chat the most?
Yes.
Goodness.
I started it off with $10. Can I see? It's like an auction. Can I see $12, $13? Let's get it going. We can volunteer Jimmy's money first.
Poor Jimmy.
He's like, "What the hell did I do?"
He's like, how did I get in this? Let's see. So, moving to understand what this is about. Bill, do you like to read out loud?
No. I used to hate that in school.
Really?
Yes. Oh my God, I hate it. But I didn't like public speaking in school either. Over my career in sales when I was younger, I had to overcome that. But I was a quiet person. Do not
Hmm.
like speaking out loud. I don't like addressing large crowds. Now look at me here.
I know. And this, it's very interesting. So, one of the first times I ever had to do a speech was back in like 2009. And it was kind of crazy. It says little Jimmy's pockets are inside out. I think mine has lint.
Some lint.
Lint. Okay. So it says the FLDS Church is a religious section or sector of the fundamentalist Mormon denominations whose members practices polygamy. So it's kind of like, polyamorous, which is like loving multiple people. Polygamy is being married to multiple people. It's estimated that, oh, I gotta find my cursor. There it is. It's estimated that 6,000 to 10,000 members reside within the congregate sister cities of Hillsdale, Utah, and Colorado City, Arizona, El Dorado, Texas, West Cliff, Colorado. What is that? Mancos, Colorado, Creston, Bountiful, British Columbia, Pringle, and South Dakota.
Oh, they're in BC too.
He said, yeah, no lint.
Oh, come on.
He doesn't even have lint,
Go grab some out of the dryer. At least you'll have something.
right? Something to play with.
Exactly.
While originally located in Short Creek, now Colorado City, its headquarters shifted to El Dorado, Texas, Russo. I think that's how you say it, Russo, North Dakota after Yearming of Zion raid. So there was a raid in Texas. If you're not familiar with this, I can click on it and familiarize you with it. There was a raid in Texas. And do you remember what it said, Bill, that you read
Yeah,
earlier?
it was the largest child custody case. They had 400 children, or over 400 children, that were taken from this compound, more or less. Um, and they took the children away, but after 2 months, they wound up returning them.
It's craziness.
It's definitely a different lifestyle. I can't even fathom it. I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to say the word here, so I won't. But I've got some very strong feelings that these people should be dealt with in a different manner, other than the court system. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at law, there is a flaw. There is a flaw. You're innocent until proven guilty, but yet you're behind bars. That doesn't seem very freeing and innocent to me. That makes me feel like a criminal. Not me per se, but it would make someone feel like a criminal if you were stuck behind bars till you were proven guilty. Now, in some cases, yes, I can understand that. But other cases, I kind of see it as like that doesn't make the person feel that like they're innocent by any stretch. Now, I was watching a case in the last couple of days, and the girl's name, I believe, was Christy. Cindy Christie. I think it's Christy. I'll have to look it up. And she had met this other young lady on what's the swipe left, swipe right app?
Tinder?
Tinder. Met her on Tinder, and they went on a date, and they really enjoyed hanging out together. So they booked another date the following day, I believe. And it was like November 16th, 17th or something. And the guy that ended up at trial, along with the girl that went on this date, he pled not guilty, didn't do it, had nothing to do with it for the longest time. And I guess, sometimes when you're sitting behind bars, it gives you that time to like reflect on one, if you did or did not do the crime, and two, it it gives you time to maybe have a way of addressing it when you do go back to court, I guess. So this guy came out during his sentencing. I guess he had wrote a letter and he addressed the parents of the girl, and very or fairly descriptive explained how he did kill her. Like, I mean, it was pretty bad. And they were also part of like a sex trafficking ring, and he called it more of like an occult of some sort, and she was like the sacrifice, basically. Little Jimmy will be kung fu fighting. Kung fu fighting. What are you going to be kung fu fighting with? He says, I know karate.
He says kung fu fighting you if you start singing again.
Oh, damn. Little Jimmy will be single soon, but can't walk all the way to California. Cali. That's what he means. With the big crocodile tears. Okay. How cute. So, the Texas Attorney General ruled that the state could seize the Yearning for Zion Ranch in January 6th, 2014. And by April 17th, they took full custody. So they took full custody of all those kids, like B just said. Crazy. How many kids, B?
It was over 400.
Let's see. Just for shits and giggles.
Who came up with that term?
I have no idea. I live in Amish country. Little Jimmy says he lives in Amish country. That means he must be like East Coast somewhere. Okay. So the Yearning for Zion Ranch, or the YFZ Ranch, was 1,700 acres. Wow. That's pretty big. The Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints, which is the FLDS community, as many as 700 people. And you said 400 of them were kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're a bunch of breeders.
Located near El Dorado, and I have no idea how to say that word, in Texas. How would you say that? It almost Slisher County? Uh-huh.
Schlichter.
There's no T.
Yeah, but CH.
Oh
yeah,
Schlitzer. That's a mouthful. In April of 2014, the state of Texas took physical legal possession of the property. YZFR Ranch was situated 45 miles southwest of San Angelo. So that's down by San Angelo, I believe, is down by north of San Antonio, around Waco area. Let's see.
Isn't that where the Branch Davidian people were at?
Oh, see? Yeah, because like Waco is like about right here. San Antonio is like about right here. Maybe like right here. El Dorado County. Let's see. Yeah. Goodness. Okay, let's go back a page. Schficker? Is that how he said it? Schficker?
I don't know. I'm not attempting it. I'll murder it.
Schficker. That's not how you say it, is it? Where the heck did it go? It had to be farther. No, there's no F in it either.
Starting to think little Jimmy's
Schlitter. Little, yeah, I think he just like seeing me struggle trying to enunciate it.
It's probably it.
Okay. So the ranch was settled by members of the FLDS church who left Hilldale, Utah, and Colorado City and Arizona under the increase of scrutiny from the media, anti-polygamy activists. Like, who wouldn't be kind of like anti let's have 100 wives? Okay. I mean, if you go back and think of this in biblical, like the biblical way, like it was one man per woman, one woman per man. It wasn't, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A harem, I guess. I wouldn't want that many moody women in under one roof, in my opinion. I don't
That
know.
is
How about you,
exactly
little
what I
Jim?
was.
Little Jimmy said he's about to be single. So, I mean, could you imagine having like 4 wives, all menacing on the same time, all grumpy? He goes, I have one. Is one is good enough, huh? I when I started digging into this topic, I'm like, wow, this topic is crazy insane. And it it gets so much deeper. And as long as we can keep a smile on our face, like at this one small section of it, it might make it easier to swallow later because it's not going to be so pretty here in about an hour. So, speaking of Sunday, okay, so creation of property. Speaking of Sunday search services, on August 10th, 2003, Warren Jeffs. Oh, hell's nah. One is almost too many, right? Warren Jeff, and if you don't know who that is, we will explain who that is here in a little bit, declared that the blessing of the priesthood had been removed from the community of Short Creek, Colorado. Following the sermon, Jeff suspended all further religious meetings but continued to allow his followers to pay their tithes and offerings to him. He then turned his focus and called lands of refuge, secret communities that he had started to build up. Jeffs referred to yearning for Zion, one of the lands of refuge, by the code name R17, the YFZ, land through its president, David S. Aldred. Purchased the ranch in 2003 for $700,000. Look how big this is. That is big. That is the house.
That's insane.
That is the house. Little Jimmy was a schfickner.
You know,
I'm trying to laugh because it's kind of funny, that part.
it's insane.
Spickner.
It's insane to think about the amount of money they would have had to raise to do that.
To up and relocate all of these people to one large compound.
Just think of feeding them.
And I don't know if you're aware of this, but you know, they're kind of like Amish. They don't do computers. They don't do the electricity thing. They don't do cars. They go by horse and buggy kind of thing. I don't know. Matter of fact, wait, I take that back. I don't know if the FLDS don't do the car thing, because there was an episode that I watched where they were in a truck towing a horse trailer that had kids in it. Little Jimmy said that's a big communion. Oh yeah, this gets real deep. This gets real deep. It's crazy. Okay. And quickly began to develop the development on the property. When he purchased the property, he declared that the buildings would be corporate hunting retreat. Hunting for what? Hunting for what?
Wives.
Hunting for wives? Hunting for kids? Oh, goodness.
Creepers.
Aldred stuck with the story even after William Benjamin Johnson, a Hilldale man, was alleged to be shooting all the white-tailed deer on the ranch After the investigation was fined for hunting without a license, later the ranch officials disclosed that the hunting retreat description was inaccurate. The buildings were part of the FLDS church residential area. What were they doing? Were they eating the deer? Were they using them as like some sort of like sacrifice?
Well, like I said, you got 400 kids alone. I'd be willing to bet that's how you fed that many people at once.
Oh, facts, huh? That's a lot of people to feed.
It also, unfortunately, would keep a lot of money within the church. Or keep the money in house as opposed to spending it at a grocery store or something like that.
Well, I think if they went to the grocery store and was trying to buy like that amounts of food, people would start questioning, like, where's all this food going? Why are they buying so much food? I mean, unless they had them on a really strict diet, but that's still like 500 pieces of bread a day.
Yeah, at that point, they would almost have to shop at like a restaurant supply type place. And
Costco.
yeah, to say the least.
They could have bought Costco. Okay. Let's see. Let me see. Should I move us to the side so we can see the whole screen so I don't have to keep scrolling it as much?
Sure.
Okay.
I look better from the side anyway.
Little Jimmy says, sounds like Scientology money.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I said, could you imagine the amount of money it took to maintain that? I mean, even if you looked into like healthcare, you have to have some kind of medical treatment for 700 people.
Well, not only that, I mean, could you imagine how much midwives cost? I mean, they probably trained people to be doctors and nurses. Well, hold on. So with the FLDS, what they do is the women stay home, okay? And the guy goes out, works, makes money, and they give the majority of their pay to their king. I guess is how you would say it, like their king.
Well, don't married guys do that to their wife?
Yeah, kind of. But it's more, like she can work if she wants. I mean, in some cases, I'm sure there's still situations where the guy is predominantly the one that works. I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see here. Where did I leave off? Retreat was description. Okay, LDS residential. The ranch was, okay, here we go. So the ranch was a home approximately to 500 people who relocated from the Arizona-Utah communities. It housed a temple, a waste temple facility, a 29,000 square foot house for the FLDS church president. Oh, that was just for him. That was just his house. Warren Jeffs, a meeting house, and several large log and concrete homes there were generators, gardens, and grain silos. So yeah, they did provide their own food there. And a large stone quarry that was cut out of the temple. Oh, cut for the temple. According to primarily tax assessments, preliminary tax assessments, if I could get my straight today, about $3 million worth of buildings had been built. $3 million worth of buildings have been put on this property. The section was fined over $34,000 for environmental violations in connection with the building on the ranch, mainly due to its failure to obtain the required permits for its concrete mixing operations. But I'm sure somebody in there did concrete work. So why would they not? He said, dang, I have 3,200 square feet.
It's structural requirements.
I mean, if they have all this money, why wouldn't they just get the proper permitting? Mm-hmm. Because they probably didn't want anybody in there.
That, and I got a feeling, and without researching this, I'm kind of speaking just off the top of my head.
Well, I'm kind of winging it right now.
But I would assume they were probably pretty anti-government because they don't follow a lot of the government's laws. So giving the government money is probably the last thing they want to do.
Yeah, and the cost for like permits. for that size of a property, and what they were doing to it would be crazy.
Yep.
Okay, the temple foundation was dedicated January 1st, 2005 by Jeffs. Mr. Warren Jeffs. So before I finish that, let's go back to a little bit about Warren. So Warren was born December 3rd, 1955, and is an American religious leader who has been convicted for several sex crimes. And the two assisted sex crimes involved children. He is the president of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, the FLDS, a polygamous denomination of the Latter-day Saints movement in 2011. He was convicted of 2 felony counts of being a bad person. I'm not sure exactly what all I can say. And I need to probably put that this is, maybe they're sovereign citizens, 18 and up.
He was convicted, though, correct?
Okay. It says he was convicted 2011.
Okay, so you don't have to say these are allegations. It was actually found to be.
This is not allegedly. This is factual from Wikipedia, which he is serving a life sentence for. In 2006, Jeff was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list for his flight from the charges that he had arranged illegal marriages between his adult male followers and underage girls in Utah. In 2007, Arizona charged him with 8 additional counts in 2 separate cases, including that word and sexual conduct with that word. In September 2007, Jeff was convicted for 2 counts of grapes and as an accomplice. So as an accomplice, for which he was sentenced to imprisonment for 10 years to life in the Utah State Prison. Oh, I watched the documentary on this weirdo. Exactly. Isn't this story insane, little Jimmy? So when I came across this story, so my whole channel is wrapped around teaching how to protect ourselves, giving others, information, and the strength, because you need strength, first of all, when you're combating a situation where you have been abused and whatnot. And so you need the resources and strength to get through situations like this. Can you imagine how many children and women went through this for years and they had no help? They were kind of like stuck there. They weren't like allowed out to, go get help. And if they were allowed out, I'm sure there was many, many threats put upon them, and the guilt or whatever they did behind the scenes to make them feel like they couldn't talk. But a lot of these little ones, they were raised to think that this was okay. So we can't completely like disregard the moms that were raising the kids, because they were raised as if this situation was okay. So they really probably didn't know that anything was wrong with this whole environment. You know what I mean? Like, how would I explain that, Bill? Like, sometimes you do something before you know that it's wrong, and you kind of get like a weird gut feeling. You're like, oh, something's not right, but you don't know that it could be actually detrimental.
Yeah, I don't want to get too descriptive, but my brother is dating a woman with children that are all victims of abuse of similar nature. The father is doing life in prison. But those children, he's got a 14-year-old daughter who thinks that I'll just leave it as inappropriate conduct in school is a normal part of life. She doesn't realize that it's wrong, because that's what she is. She's hitting on teachers at 14 years old, but throughout her entire life up until recently, that's all she's known. So they're working with her on on a mental health basis to try to help her understand. And she's actually coming around great. She's actually like, she went from never being educated in school. Again, it's very similar to these circumstances, to the point now where she's an honor student, and now she's getting her act together. But I mean, they told my brother and her mom that it could be, 5-10 years before she even started to recover when they initially started this, because that's all that child has known their entire life. They didn't know it was wrong. That's just how life was for them.
Little Jimmy says the wife stuck up for him, I believe. And yes, they did. I think I probably did 2 days of like research on this, and it's still hard for me to comprehend that there was no outside source really to let them know that it shouldn't have been that way. And you're so brainwashed that you don't really know better. It's kind of like being in an abusive relationship where the fear and the constant battling, it kind of like revamps your brain, where you're like, well, in the beginning I knew this was kind of wrong, but then you kind of like became used to it enough that you started convincing yourself that it was okay. And that's how abuse, you become like, you get that battered woman syndrome where you're like, well, it's not really that bad. Welcome in, EQ. Welcome. Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that's for the adults, right?
Just when, yes.
Yeah,
they were up against a mountain in the middle of nowhere. Let me go through these real quick and catch up. They were all brainwashed victims. I'm very familiar with Warren Jeff's compound on the Arizona border. Equalizer, if you would like to come up, because you are familiar with it, if you would like to have the discussion with us, you're very welcome. I know you're a busy guy. They don't even know that there is a president of the U.S. Is that, to me right there, it shows me that they really didn't have like an outside influence to know. They are taught actual government is evil.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier.
Little Jimmy says, I hate hearing these sad stories. Well, little Jimmy, this is one of the things, is bringing this is a, think of this as a small little snippet, even though it is a vast amount of people. This is a small little snippet that brings us into how trafficking gets started, how this ball, this big giant snowball, has been able to be inflated, and it may have started from something, as small as this group, and then it kind of just like spread out, and it became more prevalent here in the States.
And what's crazy is this is large group.
This is about bringing awareness to it. And if one of them happened to come across it, that they can be aware of it and get some solutions and help and resources that they need. Welcome, Lambrow. They don't have much education, and that is so they can control them. I would believe so.
This makes me really want to look into, like I said, my brother was, his girlfriend or whatever now was involved in something similar to this on a much smaller scale, but it was the same thing. The kids had never been to school. Got a 14-year-old daughter that's never seen school. Unfortunately, she has seen grapes in her life. But the father had multiple women that he had other children with. This was just their immediate family. The wife was never allowed to work. And when the police busted the organization that was doing this, I think they only had like 75 people that were living together.
That's still a lot.
It is. You're absolutely right. especially for, and just this woman alone had 3 children with a man that was like 20 years older than her. It's kind of strange because I wasn't real familiar with this topic until you said something before, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until you started talking about it. But this is very similar to the situation they were in, and this was in another state, not anywhere near Utah. This was near Kentucky, but yeah, it's bizarre that it's even on a smaller scale. I'm sure they get away with it longer.
Mm. Little Jimmy says, I think about all the illegals coming across the border and the problem getting bigger. And I have to agree. I have I have no qualms about having foreigners come into the country. But I do have issues with them being smuggled here or smuggled out, or having like our US residents smuggled out and sold. And what money, if money, oh, this topic just gets me wound up. And I think a lot of people that are part of the richer of the riches have a lot to do with not only our government and how it's controlled, and how they make laws with that gray area, where a lot of people that have the money to do this and do these types of things, and they get away with it. Let's see. EQ says child labor and welfare found out. Oh, child labor and welfare fraud are out of control in their communities. Well, if they're married and have like umpteen kids, how are they even getting welfare?
I think he was talking about the illegals.
Oh. It says, Lumbrow says most boys are out of work by 12. Out to work by 12. Oh, that's a whole nother story, Lambrow. So if too many boys are in these compounds, I read that what I read was in Utah has one of the largest homeless young boys anywhere in the US, because when there's too many boys in that environment, they start booting them out, because then the older geriatric ward that's trying to take these young girls from the age 9 and up, it's like the girls don't get to choose who they want to be with. They're getting picked up and married off to these geriatric men. Okay, yeah, I will send you a link, EQ, into your messenger. Okay, sweetie.
Yeah.
EQ said actually fraud charges in general are very common. Epstein.
Yeah, what I read was the parents assign their daughters. And again, this makes me think back to the situation my brother's family was in, his adopted family, or however you want to look at it. The woman that he's with, they don't know how young the little girl was started. The 14-year-old started being assaulted at, because she's never been to school and she didn't know how to read a calendar. She didn't know how old she was. Like Equalizer said, they kept them less than informed, uneducated, and because they were uneducated, they didn't know. Like we were saying before, they didn't know a lot of things were illegal, that they shouldn't be done that way. I mean, it's sad. The kids have never seen a Halloween. They've never seen a birthday. It's almost like they were being raised for breeding purposes only. It's horrible.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, some other time I'll go into a little more detail with you about it, but yeah, it's some very, very bizarre stuff. Like my mom actually took the kids trick-or-treating, and they had never done that before. They found it insane that people would be so generous to them because they were strangers, but the kids have never known any different. Like I said, imagine growing up and never knowing what day it was. as bad as it sounds,
Welcome, get to know.
you're literally living a hell every day of your life, and as far as you know, you don't have any idea how much time has passed, or if it's ever going to be over.
Only the one woman is legally married, so the others can file for assistance. Well, no, they did. Well, legal, yes. Because I don't believe anywhere in the U.S. is it legal to have more than one.
Yeah, it's just nowhere in
U.S.
the
law.
States. Not one state is it legal.
Amish runs felt is the same. The prophet assigns the daughters in FLDS. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say that's what I knew somebody assigned them. I didn't know who. I just saw that they get assigned to a man.
Yeah.
And
And in that one case, and I believe it's not Warren Jeffs. It's I can't remember his name. His son actually married his own daughter at
is
9.
that the Joe guy?
She was the 9-year-old.
9 years old. That's insane. See, that's the stuff that makes me think that there should be different ways to handle these people outside of the law.
If I drop off, I'll be right back.
Yep.
I did add EQ.
Yeah, that stuff kind of reminds me of that old saying, pedos that.
So we're gonna call their new nicknames are gonna be called what's the parasite? Parasite. We're not gonna use the word the P word. Amoebas. Oh yeah, we could call them amoebas. How about that? I'm gonna write it down so I don't forget.
So let me give you a little insight real quick, because I only have a minute.
Okay, you tell us.
So, and this is just my perception, and this is what I understand from being down there and what I gather, but so they're very protective of everyone there. Like if you're not part of the club, say you go down driving through Hilldale or Colorado City, Utah, where they are on the Arizona border. That's where the majority of them are. And you're not from there, and you enter the community. I mean, you can go to the store and you'll be just fine, and they'll deal with you. But if you drive into the neighborhood and you get out of your car, they scatter like cockroaches. It's crazy. They want nothing to do with outsiders. And they're just terrified. They've been just taught that everybody that's not them is evil and going to hell and all that. The other thing is you can drive through there and see a bunch of young kids building a house that clearly doesn't have a building inspector. The houses down there are shitty. There's probably not a single house down there that would actually pass. So child labor is crazy. The other thing is, it's pretty common for welfare fraud because the dad's married to one woman legally. The rest of the moms pretend they're single moms, and then they go get welfare. It's nuts. I don't know if they all do that, but there's also a lot of business scams that goes along with them. If you look up Jacob Kingston, he was able to defraud the U.S. government. He's finally in prison, but he got 500 million or 500 billion out of them. Like it was a ridiculous amount of money over some biofuel scam. That's actually in northern Utah. But for the most part, people think of Utah and they think polygamists. And it's actually not. I mean, it probably represents less than 1% of the people that are here. So it's not all over, but it is here. But they're very dishonest. And I think they're just taught that the system is evil, and I don't know. That's what I got to offer. I've been down through there before a few times, and I've had to deal with a few of them a few times, and it's always shady. They're kind of just scumbags. But that's all I got for you.
So the gentleman you're talking about is the one that had the biofuel. I heard about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Jacob Kingston. He partnered up with some Middle Eastern dude, and they were shipping around biofuel on a barge and pretending they would sell it and then bring it back home and pretend that was a new product. And the whole thing was a big scam.
Happy birthday, get to know.
Anyway. So I have a question for Equalizer. If these people were caught, do they actually get processed to the court system, or they just, once they're caught, they get a court date and they duck and dodge?
Not only were they laundering money to wherever the other dude was from, for his safety net. So when they were done, they would all be really rich. But yeah, they got caught. They got caught and both got arrested in the U.S., both at airports, I think. There's actually some pretty good documentaries on it and how it went down. They're
So
actually
they
pretty
didn't.
entertaining.
So they didn't go to court and fight it. They were just going to run.
I don't remember the story. Yeah, they weren't ever planning on getting caught, but they got caught and arrested. They didn't just get like, here's your summons, show up, please, because they would have all just left.
Yeah, that was my
There
thought.
was there was some serious. But the thing is even all the basically that dude's position and all the money he had, he kind of rose to become the prophet. So then everybody else that works for everybody else in the community, they have to donate their paycheck to the church, and then it's dispersed what they need. So it doesn't matter what they do for a living. Everybody gets to live on scraps, except it's the same thing where there's royalty and there's some people with power and money at the top that just abuse and enslave everyone else. It's no different than anything else that's a corrupt power structure.
Man, that's just insane.
It's complete. It's disgusting, all of it.
And they get away with this on such a large scale.
One of the people that, there was a girl that escaped. I don't remember the story completely. It's something you had to go watch, though. There's documents about it, about the Jacob Kingston thing. But one of the girls was trying to be forced to marry somebody she didn't want to marry. And then she went to college somewhere and met somebody she liked. And that dude, with her permission, kidnapped her and got her away from it. And then she was the one that was the whistleblower on that oil thing, because she was also a child laborer that was doing the books on it. She had a lot of inside information. But that went down right in Salt Lake, if I remember right. There are a few places still right in Salt Lake that have this going on, but for the majority, it's all on outskirts, and I think the overall majority is down on the Arizona border. There's actually quite a bit in Texas too. Warren Jeffs had a second compound in Texas. I think that's where the search warrant actually was.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
As far as Colorado City goes, they've confiscated a lot of those places, and they actually evicted a ton of people, and they were actually trying to move in outsiders and selling property. And there's a lot of mixing of, the place was a completely different place 20 years ago. Now there actually are outsiders that live there and nearby, and it's actually a really beautiful place. It's just has a bunch of garbage that they call houses that were just built out of junk. It's actually really sad to drive through there. The roads are all dirt roads too, but you have all these gigantic houses that have plywood but no siding, and it's all weather rotten. You can actually, there's probably closed. Google Earth. It's just, if there's no building department down there that says, yeah, that's good. Here's your certificate of occupancy. They're like, here's your garbage, enjoy your garbage. And then they build brick walls around it so nobody can get in and nobody can get out.
But you would think that
one other thing that you guys were talking about was the young boys. There's actually rescue centers down in St. George, which is probably the closest main city down to that area. When the older dudes or the elders feel like this young boy is a little too pretty and a little too likable, they find a reason to kick him out because they don't want to share all the new poon with the young boys that would, all the old creepy bastards want the young girls, and it's really gross. They don't get to choose who they're with. It really should just be rated. It should be rated, and everybody should get counseling, and everybody should go live their life is what it should be. But there's that fine line with the religion.
You would think, though, if the buildings are unsafe, they could shut the whole area down just due to safety concerns.
Well, I mean, their local government is them too. They had a marshal that was disbanded that actually lost his law enforcement accreditation because of, I don't remember the stories. Also, another thing, if you go drive down there and you're an outsider and you stick around a little too long, you'll start getting followed around by black SUVs with some people in it. It's really, they're above everything they think. I don't know.
That's almost
there's stories about the town marshal getting debadged, but even though it's Utah and Arizona, half the city's on one side, half's on the other. They share the town marshal, even though it's two different cities. It's weird. There's a jurisdiction thing too where they have an agreement, but half of it's in Utah. And there's actually a Uzona Boulevard right down the middle of it. That's the split on the border. But yeah, half of it's in Nevada, half of it's in Utah, and it's almost an even split if I remember right.
Wow. It's crazy.
So they do have Lost Boys centers that are like a rescue mission
Yes.
for the poor boys that get kicked out.
Yes.
I've actually met several of those dudes. There's quite a few of those dudes in St. George. If you ever want to see what a bunch of old ladies in Little House on the Prairie costumes look like, just go to Walmart in Washington after 10 p.m. any night, and you'll see a lot of them. They have to drive through Hurricane to get to Walmart or to get to Hilldale.
Why so late at night?
For whatever reason. I mean, you see them during the day sometimes too, but they just come out at night. They just don't. They don't seem like they want to interact. And I'm speaking specifically about those two towns. Those are the ones that I've interacted with. There are other groups like Kingston's. I don't know anything about. I've never really interacted with them. But down there, it's almost like they're their own little cults. I guess would be the best word for it. But it's very different, I would imagine, between the different places. A lot of the ones, the Kingstons or whatever, they kind of blend more into cities. Whereas Colorado City used to be up here. The Warren Jeff clan, they used to be up here, and then they actually went down there and founded that place, like in 1986, if I remember right. I think that's when that city was founded. So everything there is newer than 86, and it's garbage. No, the one down in Utah and Arizona. So everything's newer than 1986, and it's a shithole. Whole place is a shithole.
So Little Jimmy has a question and said, was this communion part of the same that were executed by the cartels in Mexico?
I don't know that story. I just know that Jeff's had a compound, like a big compound in Texas that he was building when everything went down and he got arrested. They actually found that guy with a whole shitload of cash and a bunch of, like he was in an Escalade. I want to say he was somewhere outside of Vegas. But when they actually found him, because he was on the run for a while, they found him in an Escalade with a shitload of cash, and I don't remember what else. He had some really strange items with him. But his whole town is poor and suffering.
Is this the last arrest they did in 2017?
No, I think that was his brother.
Or his son.
No, they got
was
him.
it his son? I think it was the son. The real dipshit loser one. The son that had...
They had one of them that escaped too, or ran. But yeah, when they caught Jeff's, that was back, it looks like 07. When the two, I think there was two sons that got indicted, and then I think they bailed out or released him or something, and one of them hid, or maybe both of them hid, and then they had to go find him. Because they're scumbags. They're absolute scumbags.
So there is one, the son of the last one, and they were pulled over. He had many warrants, and he was pulled over with a horse trailer that had the 3 girls in the back of it.
Okay, I think you're mixing two different stories together. Also, I'm thinking of one that's different. But yeah, the horse trailer one, they were transporting young girls across Arizona to somewhere. That was more recent. That wasn't even 17. That was like in the last couple of years, I think. So
I believe it was in 2017.
So there's actually dash cam or body cam footage of that whole thing. And you can see what a combative asshole the older daughters or the older girls were.
We're telling them to be quiet.
They are not saying shit. And they're like, nope, just a total asshole. Like they've been trained. So that's a pretty interesting clip. And that's online somewhere. I actually came across that accidentally once. And that's an interesting watch. But yeah, there's little kids and they're riding in a horse trailer. It was a horse trailer or an enclosed trailer or something.
Mm-hmm. And they had one place to go potty, and there was like a couch or something in there.
Yeah, and it was hot because it's Arizona. It's hot as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another arrest earlier than that for whoever the new leader was. And I don't remember what the charges were, what they got on that guy. There was 2, and I think they were brothers. And then when it was time to go to trial, they just hid. They don't respect the government. Our government means nothing. They are not part of it. Everything that's not them is wrong. Only they're going to God, or they're only they're going to heaven. Everybody else is, going to hell. I mean, they're the only right ones in the whole world. But yeah, they're really brainwashed, and there's the whole system is nothing but predators and victims.
This is an insane story, and this is why I really, really.
Well, it's still going on, but they are trying to liberate the place. when they went and did the mass evictions of the homes that they seized. So when they did the big Warren Jeffs thing and the big seizure, they went down there and kind of worked out lease agreements with everybody, and they were really, really lenient. It went on for quite a while, and then there was several different occasions where they had to just finally go evict people, and it was ugly. I actually know people that were involved in that, but yeah. So then they started selling off the property to outsiders. It's probably a whole different place now than when I was spending a lot of time down there. And I wasn't down there because I had 15 wives. I was down there on business, but
Wow.
that's another thing.
Little Jimmy
there's
says Little Jimmy says there was 2 families in a black SUV that were offed in the desert by the cartels in Mexico. I think the cartels thought that they were another one of the narco groups.
Yeah. Those cartels in Mexico are out of hand. But yeah, so I don't know. It's probably a different place today than it was. I heard something, and I don't know if it's true or not, or if it ever happened. But somebody, I think, and there might be a news story on this. I think somebody purchased his Warren Jeffs big compound, and they were going to turn it into a bed and breakfast or something, some sort of attraction.
Well, we'll get to that. We will.
Oh, you already know about that.
We will get to that. There's a lot of information that I'm going to try to spit out in a couple hours. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to listen, but I got to get back to work. But
okay,
that's what
sweetie.
I got.
Thank you for coming up and explaining and giving us an enlightenment on how this works. And
I have,
this is probably going to
see if I can find it, but I have a whole bunch of video of down there. I'll see if I can find it for a later date.
Yes, because I'm going to probably be doing this over the next couple of weeks, just working on this one story.
Okay.
So this isn't going to be just a one-day thing, but thank you very much, EQ.
You're welcome. See you.
So that was a lot of information, and he is also from that area, so he can help out a lot in maybe getting some fresh photographs or what he does have video stock. So going back to Wikipedia, go ahead, Bill.
Sorry. It sounds like we have a few people in here that are experienced with this, or at least know a lot about it. I had no idea this stuff even went on.
And it's been trying to be brushed under the rug for quite a while. But it is out in the open. And everybody's heard the joke about, go to Utah and you can have more than one wife. But this was some legitimate issues.
And at that point, it's not even about having more than one wife. I mean, let's be real. What it really is, it's them being, what was the word? Amoeba, parasites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've tried, more or less, they found a loophole to quote unquote protect themselves in an indirect way, or at least to excuse themselves for behavior that should be addressed in a permanent matter, I guess.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so let's go back to this page. In September of 2007, Jeff was convicted of we already read that part, huh? So he was, it says, in prison for 10 years in life in Utah State Prison. The conviction was overturned by the Utah Supreme Court in 2010 due to a flawed jury instructions. Can you imagine? He got out because of flawed jury instructions.
And that's insane. That's more of that stuff, though, that we were just talking about.
So Jeff was extradited to Texas, where he was found guilty for SA of a minor and raping 15-year-old who he had married. An aggravated SA against a child for raping a 12-year-old who he had married, for which he was sentenced to life in prison, plus 20 years, fine, $10,000. Jeff was incarcerated at the Lewis C. Polage Unit, the Texas Department of Corrections and Justice in Palestine, Texas. So a little history on his, sorry, let me move my cursor, family and early life. Warren Steed Jeff was born on December 3rd, 1955 to Roland Jeffs and Marilyn Steed, born in circa 1935. Warren was born more than 2 months prematurely in Sacramento, California. Roland Jeffs became the president of the Fundamentalist Church, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In 1986, he had 19 or 20 wives, approximately 60 children. 60. That's like 20. Thank you very much, B.
You're welcome.
Exactly. Let the kids be kids. There's no reason to make them grow up early. There's no reason to. So, what happens when children are S8 at a very, very young age? They have the potential to go through the change at a very, very early age. And the just medically, physically, these young girls their bodies are just not made or built to be having children at such a young age. They're just not. So with that being said, there is a case where the hormones of a young lady that has been through something like this can prematurely start. And if you can imagine how that would affect them mentally and physically, especially if they're having children this young. Just, it's beyond me.
Yeah, that's the stuff that really gets under my skin. Like I said, I feel that those people should be handled in a permanent matter to the point where they're guaranteed to never reoffend.
And what can the court systems do as far as making that not happen again? I mean, what kind of punishment can really be inflicted? Unless they were like all their, arms, legs, body parts were removed. I mean,
if you can take someone's life and get the death penalty in many, many states. If you can take someone's life, they're taking their life before they even have a chance to live it. These are children. They will never, ever grow up and have a regular life. You have not only taken that child's life, but you've taken their innocence.
Innocence.
That
mentally affects them too.
Yeah, exactly. If you think back to when you were a child, when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, the last thing on my mind, don't get me wrong, I was a little boy and, I always thought I was going to get married to, Susie down the road or whatever the hell it was that I had my little crush on. But I had no idea of the real life things that you go through in marriage. The stresses, the trauma, and these are forced marriages. So not only do they have the things that go along with a traditional marriage, but now they have the physical and the other types of abuse that go along with it. They have the mental abuse that goes along with it. And then you stack all that on top of a child who didn't even get to live their childhood. They don't have good childhood memories. Their memories as a child, like I said, unfortunately, my brother's girlfriend's kids are living this lifestyle. Those kids have a horrible, horrible memories of when they were children. Their best time of their life is right now. And it's sad. They're going to grow up to be adults and have think of all the little things, stupid things. When I was a kid, I played baseball. When I was in high school, I wrestled on the wrestling team and I played baseball. I had my wins and my days of happiness. None of that will ever be a part of these kids' life. If you think back of even if you had the most fucked up life, but you still lived a normal home in a normal home outside of this, whether your parents were verbally abusive or less than perfect. I won't say the most terrible things, but if you're just, the typical teenager and you think back about how, bad you may have thought life was, look at these kids' lives. You're going to guarantee 99% of us have some good memories of when we were a kid. These kids are going to have zero. They've not only robbed them of their innocence, they've robbed them of their entire life.
Wow. Okay, so we have Rulon Jeffs here, who became president of the FLDS back in 1986. So he was the son of Warren, who had 87 wives. Warren grew up outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, and for 23 years served as the principal of Alta Academy, the FLDS private school at the mouth of the Little Cottonwood Canyon. Jeff became the principal in 1976, the year he turned 21. He was known for being a stickler for the rules and discipline. Welcome, Sancho, and thank you for stopping in and hitting that like button. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. So, do you want me to go over church leadership or go back to our regular the context, the original context of the FLDS church?
You're in control. You got the steering wheel.
Okay. Prior to his father's death in 2002, Jeffs held the position as counselor as the church leader. Jeff became Rulon's successor for his official title of the FLDS church, becoming president and the prophet, seer, the revelator, as well as the president of the priesthood. The latter concerned being head of the organization of all adult male church members who were deemed worthy to hold the priesthood, a tradition carried in the Latter-day Saints movement. Following Rulon's death, Jeff told the high-ranking FLDS officials, I won't say much, but I will say this: hands off my father's wives. When addressing his father's widow, he said, you women will live as if the father is still alive and in the next room. So he convinced them that his father was now living within him, is what I recall from the video that I watched. Says when addressing his father, living in the next room. Within a week, he had married all but two of his father's wives. One refused to marry Jeffs, and he was subsequently prohibited from even marrying again, while the other, Rebecca Wall, fled the FLDS compound. Naomi Jessup was one of the first Rulon's former wives to marry Jeff, subsequently became his I lost my place. Oh, there it is. Favorite wife and confidant, as the sole individual in the FLDS church with the authority to perform marriages. Jeff was responsible for assigning wives to husbands. So he was the culprit in assigning these children to these geriatric men. And forgive my terminology, but these men are not even and no longer
Oh, interesting.
It's crazy. Okay.
Did you see that quote or the post in the room?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
So until the courts in Utah intervened, Jeff controlled almost all of the land in Colorado City, Arizona, and Hilldale, Utah, which was part of the church's trust called the United Effort Plan, UEP. The land has been estimated to be worth over $100 million. All UEP assets were put in the custody of the Utah court systems pending the father's litigation. As a result of November 2012 court decision making the UEP land is to be sold to those who live on it. Who still lives on it? That's what I'm curious about. In January 2004, Jeff expelled a group of 20 men from the Short Creek community, including the mayor, and reassigned their wives and children to other men in the community. Jeff, like his predecessor, continued the standard FLDS, the Mormon fundamentalist tenet. The faithful men must follow what is known to be the doctrine of plural marriage, plural as in multiple marriages, in order to attain exaltation in the afterlife. Like they really believed this. Jeff specifically taught that a devoted church member is expected to have at least 3 wives in order to get into heaven. And the more wives the man has, the closer he is to heaven. So in other words, you had to have multiple wives to get into heaven. Okay. Welcome in the famous ferret. Famous ferret says, I am FLDS and now no longer go to church. The abuse and psychological dysfunction that these P's doctrines perpetuate on kids at times cannot even be remedied with years of intense therapy. That's what I was saying earlier. There's no real fixing the actual damage that is done to young kids. Changes in location and leadership. So they couldn't do what they wanted there. So that's, I'm assuming, is when they packed up and moved to Texas and started that compound that we saw the picture of earlier. Exactly, Jimmy. Exactly. And B, it's really none of our business. But I understand your questioning. We don't want to, accidentally dox somebody, even if it's just their sex or their sexual preference. Okay. Changes in location. Before his 2006 arrest, Jeff has last been seen on January 1st, 2005, near El Dorado, Texas, at the dedication ceremony of the Foundation for Large FLDS Temple on the YFZ Ranch. That's that big ranch I showed you the picture of earlier.
One in Texas?
Yes, that's this ranch. Oh, that's in the other picture. It's on the other page. That big compound. That big giant compound we saw.
Yeah.
That compound. It actually has a picture of it.
I mean, that looks like one of the old, I don't know if you can say the word, the Hitler compounds. I mean, where they were, how it was like masses and masses and masses.
Okay. So it says a Texas dedication ceremony of the foundation of a large FLDS temple on the YFZ Ranch. The ranch came into public eye on April 7th, 2008, when Texas authorities conducted a raid and took legal custody of 416 children.
So it was a little over 400. Wow.
And exactly. Let's see. So little famous ferret says, I am a female. The type damage is so deep. It's the deepest kind of damage at most basic fundamental level. I am still grappling with the deprogramming years later after therapy and medication.
Man.
Lambrow says, the most famous ferret. I am sorry you had to deal with so much. I am happy you are out and hope healing as best as you can, no doubt. Oh, look at the cute little picture. It's I mean, only from what myself, my children have been through, can I even kind of relate, but not to that extent of years and years and years of that kind of trauma. In response to the March 31st phone call alleging physical and SA on the ranch, the caller claimed to be 16-year-old girl married to a 50-year-old man. And that's why I keep
Jesus.
using the geriatric word. I mean, it's what they are. And stated, oh, I don't want to accidentally click on something. And stated she had given birth to his child the prior year. And she was how old? So 15. Residents, however, told the authority that there was facts no such girl, and the calls were ultimately traced to a 33-year-old Rosita Swinton, totally unconnected with the FLDS church. But you know what? It's a good thing that she did make that call. And she could have made that call because she knew what was going on. And known for repeated instances of filing false reports. Nevertheless, Texas authorities continued to investigate whether Swinton's claims were a hoax. The women and children who were suspect of being minors were returned after Texas courts established that the state had not presented sufficient evidence of the abuse to have them removed. That is just too darn bad. Because if law, and I know that Get to Know would agree, if the laws were more strict, less of this would be happening.
See, that's what I don't understand. How do you show up? They have children that obviously they were going to be pregnant, and not expect abuse, or I guess you got to prove it.
You're okay, Jimmy. We need to laugh through this. It's some serious, heavy-weighted information, and so, keeping our spirits up. So in June, says on June 10th, 2006, the Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard told the Desert News that he had heard from several sources that Jeff had returned to Arizona and had performed marriage ceremonies in a mobile home that was being used as a wedding chapel. On March 27th, 2007, the Desert News reported that Jeff had renounced his role as the prophet of the FLDS Church in a conversation with his brother, Nephi. Nephi quoted him as saying he was the greatest of all sinners, that God had never called him to be a prophet. Jeff was presented with a handwritten note to the judge at the end of the trial, March 27th, saying that he was not a prophet of the FLDS Church. On November 7th, the Washington County, Utah Attorney General's office released a video of jailhouse conversation between Nephi and Jeffs, in which Jeffs renounced his prophethood, reclaiming that God had told him that he revealed that he was not the rightful prophet and was a wicked man. He would still gain a place in the celestial kingdom. Jeffs also admitted that he calls immoral actions with his sister and a daughter when he was 20 years old. Other records show that while incarcerated, Jeffs tried to commit suicide by banging his head against the walls, trying to hang himself. Bleep, bleep. Jeffs formally resigned as the president of the FLDS Church effective November 20th, 2007. In an email to the Desert News, Jeff's attorney made the following statements: that Mr. Jeff has asked the following statement to be released to the media and to the members of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Mr. Jeffs resigned as president of the corporation of the president of the Fundamental Church of the Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. That is a mouthful. The statement did not address his
So I've got a question here. Sorry. If he was the prophet, he was the only one that selected which women get married to who, right?
Correct.
So more or less, he is the the organizer of the predators, and he would pick whatever he wanted for himself and then distribute the others. Never mind. I don't want to talk. Yeah, it's just.
I would have to agree, little Jimmy. That's a lot of estrogen for one home. A lot. And, maybe the famous ferret, maybe she's willing to come up and talk about it if she's able to.
Didn't they say he had like a pound of a house for himself, though? So it's not like he was living on top of each other with his women.
I think I don't know for sure. I think him and his wives were in one home.
Yeah, I think, but for some reason I thought I saw somewhere that it was like a 10,000 square foot building.
Well, that was, I believe, the temple.
Oh, okay.
I believe is what I read earlier. So he went through and he admitted that he wasn't, that he was this evil person in hopes that, his Lord and Savior was going to save him. And Lowenbrow says that he had wives in various places. So he had them probably like in those 3 states. He would just go visit them, I guess. In July of 2004, so this is SA Crimes Allegations, FBI's Most Wanted. Ow, hold on, I gotta stretch my leg out. In July of 2004, Jeff's nephew, Brent Jeffs, filed a lawsuit alleging that Jeff had assaulted him in the FLDS Church, Salt Lake Valley compound in the late 1980s. Yes, it's totally accurate what was read. SA runs rampant in the FLDS community as well as any comparable strict religious community, and it is not just older males, it's teenage males also. And I read that, or I heard that in one of the videos that I watched yesterday, was that even the young males, and that's why they were booting them out. That's why they were getting rid of them. And there was so many, they're called the Lost Boys in Utah.
So just to be clear, and pardon my ignorance, but this is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right?
This is the fundamentalists. Yeah.
So I'm just, because as a child, I remember growing up and they would run commercials on TV.
Yes, but so there's the FLDS and then there's the LDS.
So I guess that's like it's the same beliefs but different.
Kind of. The famous ferret says they were taught from a young age that women are essentially property. Exactly. She said, Lowenbrow says, no, it's FLDS, not the LDS. That's what I was explaining to be. So one's the fundamentalist, and then the other one is just the Latter-day Saints. But like Famous Ferret says, like it's when you have like those rigid ruled religious groups, a lot of this does happen. Think about the Catholic Church. Same scenario. It's very rigid rules, and they're kept in very tight places. You know what I mean? That's probably not good word usage, but they're kept to a point where they have the fear in them that they just follow suit. It says Lowenbrow says FLDS adopted the practice of polygamy when the LDS Church stopped the practice.
Ah, So there were people probably of the same belief that didn't want to let go of the practice.
Correct. Well, why would they? You got 50-year-old men out here running rampant. They're like, well, you can stop it, but we're going to keep doing it. And I truly believe that whole thought process and the way it was ingrained, and some other similar countries, they were like, hey, they took it on, but that's like the cartel and stuff.
So, well, you say why would they? But in reality, it's because it's wrong. But at the same
I'm
time,
not saying it's right. What I'm saying is these people that have
they've
these
used
human
that as an
these
excuse to be
human
predators.
beings, exactly, these human beings that have used this as basically the blanket for them to get away with such horrid and unthinkable crimes.
Yes, and the church they would cover it up under the guise of religious whatever beliefs.
Correct.
See that? Oh, I have so many issues with religion for things like that. Like, what I used to do for a living? I would have a pastor that would come in all the time. Well, if you do this for the church, God will forgive you for this and that. Well, if God is that forgiving, He's going to forgive me either way. I'm not out, I'm not out committing crimes that hurt people. But He would use that to get financial gains for His church.
Welcome, Matt Lingo. Yeah, where's the little slacks with your little owl crocs? This next section of the alleged crimes and convictions, I'm going to skip over this section because there's a lot of words that would be really hard for me to like bleep out later if I needed to. So I'm not even going to go through it because a lot of it would just be really it's hard for me. I can't even like kind of like skim through it without it still being displayed up on the screen. So that gives you kind of like the ground of what this is based on and how they have you manipulated the minds of children and women to believe such things are correct to get to heaven. Now, mind you, I am not related to this type of thing of any sort, and my religious beliefs are completely different. And I believe in one woman, one male. That's one thing.
Can you scroll past this so I don't look at it? Because I keep
Yeah.
reading, getting irritated. So
I'm going to skip over that. So I don't judge anybody for their own religious beliefs types things, but I do want to tend to life. She is another creator on this platform. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And she did do a briefing on it. And I will get her permission before I use it. But in our next episode of this, I'm going to show you the videos that she did on it and how she explained it and the way she summed it up in a very, very compact way. Yes. Yes, Matt. Isn't she great? She's great. I love her. I love watching her shows. Look at that compound. It's just crazy big. I think this is where I left off. It was approximately 500 people relocated to Arizona. Oh, Jeff Warren's okay. The meeting house, several large log cabins. Okay, I read all that. And I read that. So this discussion is about Mormonism and polygamy. And like I believe that famous ferret mentioned is when one stopped, the other one started. And Lambrow, you're welcome to come up. You don't have to come on camera. I just need to make sure it's you. So you would just have to show me backstage that it's you, and you're more than welcome to come up and share also. Well, did you lose your Crocs, Matt? Okay. So, March 29th, 2008, a local domestic violence shelter hotline took a call from a female identifying her name as Sarah and claiming she was 16-year-old victim of SA at the church YZFR. So, this was the Rosita Swinton. Okay. So, we'll skip over that because we already went through that. This section explains a little more about what happened there. Is that something that you want to hear about, B?
Sorry, I was reading the notes there. What was that?
Did you want to go over this, the more detailed part of about what she claimed and what happened at the scene?
No, I think we touched on this earlier. This is
So we basically had, the outline of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know what happened.
So the call was triggered a large operation at the YFZ ranch in Texas. The law enforcement and child welfare officials began off the ranch on April 3rd. Law enforcement officers were armed with automatic weapons. SWAT teams and sniper helicopters in Midland County provided an M113 armored personal carrier as backup. Wow. It's probably because the compound was so big.
I was going to say, are they armed?
Yeah. But they were, who was armed?
The religious group. The FLDS people.
Maybe. I don't know. You would think they would have to protect themselves somehow. It says they were met with no armed resistance. So I guess not.
And sorry, I was going to say that's kind of my thought. They're famous.
So authorities believe that the children had been abused and were at immediate risk of future abuse, the state spokesman said. Troopers and child welfare officials searched the ranch, including the temple's safe vault, locked desk drawers, and beds. They found evidence leading to them to believe that the beds were in part of the temple were males over the age of 17 engaged in SA. A religious scholar later testified in court that he did not think that SA occurs in the temples of the FLDS sectors. Sex. And that the temple services lasted a couple hours, so the temples will have a place where someone can lie down. Why would you need to lie down?
It's like you said, it's a cover-up.
Chihuahua.
That goes back to what Ferret said earlier. It's even the teenagers. They indoctor it into their way of thinking from a young age, males and females.
It says there was no evidence of children being abused. About 130 of the children were under 5.
Okay, that's enough of that.
The evidence later presented in custody hearings suggested that teenage boys were not physically or SA'd. CPS spokesman Daryl Azar stated there was symptomatic process going on to groom these young girls to become brides. And that's what I had mentioned, grooming, earlier. She said, SA did happen in that temple. She also said that they have men that patrol the compound. And yes, the group is armed to the T.
You would think that a religious organization would have no need to arm themselves heavily.
No, they got God on their side. Come on.
Exactly. They're not a military organization. Let's be real. It's nothing short of a criminal organization.
Okay, it says there was a systematic process going on to grooming the young girls and the brides. It says the children could not be protected from possible future abuse. The ranch interviews with the children revealed that several underage girls were forced into spiritual marriage with much older men as soon as they reached, and were made, after Judge Barbara Walther of the 51st District Court issued the order authorizing officials to remove the children, including boys, 17-year-old and under, from the ranch. Eventually, total of 462 children went into temporary custody of the state of Texas. The children were held by the CPS Department of Fort Concho and the Wells Fargo Pavilion in San Angelo. Over 100 adult women chose to leave the ranch to accompany the children. They were probably accompanying and keep them quiet. Children under the age of 4 were allowed to stay with their mothers until DNA testing to identify family relations was finished. Once DNA testing was completed, only children under 18 months were allowed to stay with their mothers indefinitely. The former member of the FLDS Church, Carolyn Jessup, arrived on site April 6th in hopes of reuniting 2 of her daughters with their other half-siblings. She stated that the actions in Texas were unlike the 1953 Short Creek raid in Arizona. Jessup had been in Texas the prior month at the speaking engagement where she said in El Dorado crimes went the whole new level. They thought they could get away with more, but Texas is not going to be the state to tolerate these type of crimes as Arizona and Utah have been. Don't mess with Texas. By April 8th, authorities had removed as many as 533 women and children from the ranch. On April 10th, the law enforcement completed their search of the ranch, returning control of the property of the FLDS Church. Mandamus of Judge Walther. So a mandamus is a writ to return. So we'll stop it there for a moment. There's an auto recording of what Warren did at the temple. I never experienced, thankfully left before I was married, but it made me sick to my stomach because it meant, girl I knew went through that. Matt Lingo says, I live near an Amish. None of this surprises me. They are all cults, sadly. And that is my question for the day. Is this a religious thing or is this a cult thing? If you think this is a religious thing, type 1. If you think it's a cult thing, type 2.
By cult, do you mean criminals just disguising or hiding behind religion?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly, Jimmy. 500. Lambrow says 22222. Famous Ferret says 222222222. Matt Lingo says it's both 1 and a 2. It is a religious thing, but it's more like a culty type evil. Definitely.
It's criminals hiding behind religion.
Yeah. I think so also. So, it has a spot here. It's highlighted. So when you get like a writ of mandamus, a mandamus is taking something to a higher court. If you don't know what that word means, a writ of mandamus is an order to take something to a higher judge. So if you have something in justice court, you can file for a writ of mandamus and you can take it into a higher court. Religious manipulation, Matt Lingo says. Oh, Matt, guess what? There's a little cashy button on my little thingy now. I'm so excited. Yay. Bill's been over here filling up the super train. Okay.
Super chats.
Super chat train. Yeah. Okay. So it says mandamus of Judge Walther. So that means that this is probably a higher judge or a request for a higher judge. So represented by Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, mothers of the removed children sought a writ of mandamus against Judge Walther for her rulings because parents in Texas cannot simply appeal an emergency removal. A mandamus is available only when abundantly clear that the state official abused his or her power. Exactly. So the issue here is that these mothers are going back for these appeals. Thank you, Matt Lingo. Oh my gosh. Thank you so very much. Thank you for that $5. Amazing. B says it's criminals hiding behind religion. Yes. Lowenbrow says they use religion to justify their behavior. I agree wholeheartedly. Little Jimmy says it's sad and disgusting to use God as a reason for all their sins. Amen. Amen.
What's sad is this has been going on for years, not just with this organization, but with other religions as well.
And it does. And it does. And they get away with it. So on May 22nd, 2008, an appeals court issued a writ of mandamus to Judge Walther and found that there was not nearly enough evidence at the original hearing that the children were in immediate danger to justify keeping them in state's custody. What? Did I just read that right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. How do you have pregnant teens all over the place that clearly have been abused and there's no evidence? Something just tells me that our justice system was corrupted by money at that point. Someone paid to get out of it. And although the people were poor, the church wasn't.
Oh, Matt. Did you see what he wrote?
No.
I gave my donation to the First Church of Bingo.
Yes.
How cute. You ought to check out the memberships that I did. I think they're really cute. I may change the wording on them, but I tried. I tried to come up with something that was cute.
You can be an inker.
You can be an inker. You can be a pro inker. No, master inker. Yeah, they're really cute. Wow, I can't believe that they said that. And it's their lawyer that they had said, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with this judge. I'm not happy with the decision this judge made. So I want this taken to a higher court. And that's exactly what a writ of mandamus is. You know, Matt, the way I set it up is where instead of having to do that, 10 every time you want to play, you can do like a monthly membership and you get to play as much as you want all month. I figured it would be a little less tedious. And Scientology is very scary as well. I'm not too sure on Scientology. I will have to dig in deep into that. I've only, heard things here and there. Okay, so it says the court added that Judge Walther had abused her discretion by keeping the children in state's care. But don't you think that they would be safer in the state's care? The court ruled that the department did not present any evidence of danger to the physical health and safety of any male children or female children who had not reached puberty. The children were to be returned to their families within 10 days. CPS announced that they would seek to overturn this decision. On May 29th, the Texas Supreme Court declined to issue a mandamus to the appeals court, with the result that CPS was required to return all of the children. The court stated that on record before us, removal of the children was not warranted. The court also noted that although the children must be returned, it needed to do so without granting appropriate leave to protect the children. Wow. On May 12th through the 15th of 2009, the hearing was held, Tom Green County, Texas, regarding the constitutionally and legality of the search warrants executed in April 2008 on the YFZ Ranch in, there's that word again, Schlickler County, Texas. On October 2nd, 2009, Judge Barbara Walther issued the ruling denying the defense motion to suppress the evidence seized from the YFZ Ranch, stating the court finds the defendant's offer of proof to deliberate falsehoods contained within probable cause affidavits to support the two warrants is unsupported by credible evidence. On November 10th, 2009, Raymond Jessup was sentenced to 10 years in prison and fined $8,000. That's it? That's it?
10 grand?
That's only $800 bond. I don't even think it's that much. I don't know how that works exactly, but it's like 5% or 10%.
10%.
On December 18th, 2009, Alan Keat was sentenced to 33 years in prison. He fathered a child with, I still think they should get life too. Death penalty. Thank you, Famous Ferret. Famous Ferret says, I subbed to your channel. I'm not sure how it showed up in my algorithm, but it was very ironic considering this is right up my alley. Thanks for listening to me, everyone. And Famous Ferret, you're welcome to come up and discuss if you like. Just don't go too personal, something, because it is really out there on the web and you don't want your real personal information to get clipped. Okay, hun. But you're always welcome, and thank you very much. On January 22nd, 2010, Michael George Emack pleaded no contest to SA and was sentenced to 7 years. That's it? He married a 16-year-old girl at YFZ Ranch on August 5th, 2004. She gave birth to a son less than a year later. He also pled no contest on bigamy charges with a 7-year sentence that will run concurrent. Wow. Insanity.
And that's one of those things we may have to get into some other night, is our legal system issues. I think sometimes just they don't care what the prosecution is for, as long as they can prosecute on something.
And I do believe it's because they look at the severity of the crime and not the intimate detail of how it affects the victim. Because for instance, I'll use this as an example. Someone's imprisoned for 10 years. Okay. Does that mean that my trauma is gone in 10 years? And is this magically poof?
No, and that's the problem. And that's,
so to me, that's just absurd.
That's like I was saying before, it's that instance with my brother and his girlfriend and their children. Fortunately, the father that did those things in that case got life, but his kids will be scarred, as well as his former wife will be scarred for the rest of their life. He said Inky almost peed instead of me.
Right? What we'll do is we'll stop there and we will continue this. I'm not sure if I want to do another show tomorrow. I may. Let me ponder it, because it is a lot to absorb and it's a lot of not necessarily negative energy, but it is negative energy. I know that was contradictive, but I don't want it to be a negative channel, and that's why I do the bingo and the fun stuff. But there is serious issues that you know, this is one of those. Bill, how they say um, drinking and smoking Mary Jane is like the access to heavier drugs, right? So I kind of look at this the same way. This is like that access that they're getting to make this. It's like the gateway. You know how they say it's the gateway drug? Well, I think this was like the initial gateway into what is going on now with the trafficking and, the abuse, and them thinking that it's okay. And then they do use this religion thing as their excuse. It's their scapegoat to
It's a
do
safe haven for
bad
predators.
things. Yeah. Let's
But
see
I mean,
here.
like you said, it's been Catholic churches have hidden crimes like this for years. Like somebody else mentioned, I think it was Alambrow, the Scientology, or maybe that was Ferret. But none of this stuff is new. It's just how do they continue to keep getting away with it? I mean, there's more to it. There's definitely more to this than people see. Whether it be the churches have more money and they just buy their way out of trouble, or to keep things quiet, or is it fear they invoke in people that, hey, look, if you talk, it's I don't know, it's bizarre.
And Lambrow says one problem with prosecuting is that they have an incredibly hard time getting anyone to talk, so they end up with little information to use. And that's fact. Because they're trained not to talk. They're like, no, we're not trying to get in trouble. Because in their minds, they think that, they won't go to heaven if they talk. That's what they've been taught.
I'm going to have to look into a little bit more as to, I can talk to my mom about it. What was my brother's girlfriend or whatever, or wife was involved in? They weren't actually allowed to go. The wife nor the children were ever allowed to go anywhere without the husband.
And that's a control thing.
He kept them under watch so that they could never go anywhere.
Little Jimmy says, I enjoyed the conversation, but it's reality, and there's a real problem out there right now, and it's getting worse. It most definitely is getting worse. On a daily basis, we hear about this girl's been kidnapped, this guy's, and it's not slowing down. It's getting worse. And I think the, internet, it's a great thing, but I think it's also perpetuating the situation for young adults and young children.
It gives those predators a idea that, hey, look, you have a place to go. I mean, it's great that the awareness gets out there that stuff goes on, because like I said, I didn't know about it, but like I said, it also gives predators hey, look, if you want to participate in these activities, this is where you need to be. This is the religious organization you need to help be a part of and fund, which only allows them to get bigger.
Little Jimmy says, pastor of a famous family church nationwide was charged for that in Virginia Beach just last month.
But again, is it going to be one of those situations, like I was saying, it's another discussion for another day, but it's one of those situations where the prosecutor just wants to say, look, I prosecuted 317 SA people this year, and they let them off on probation because whatever, it was still all they cared about was getting
so why don't they just get the death penalty? Because I know their huge complaint was that they didn't have room for them inside these facilities. So if you just give them the death penalty, one, it'll scare the pants off those people. They'll be like, oh, well, I'm not just going to get slapped on the hand and sent on my way. I'm going to lose my life. Is it worth it? I mean, come on. If you up the ante on the discipline, they should be less likely to behave a type of way.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I agree. If loss of life is a real consequence, it's not, hey, you're going to go sit you in a room and give you 3 hots and a cot, and you can get away with this for as long as you want until you get caught.
What the heck is 3 hots and a cot?
3 hot meals and a place to sleep.
Oh,
That's the worst consequence.
Little Jimmy says streamers Buffalo Man 11 protested at the pastor's church almost every weekend. Good job.
Good. But
Good
like
job.
I said, people that are dealt with in that manner that we discussed never reoffend. Never.
What? Not if they're gone.
Exactly. They will never hurt another child.
So, chat, what do you think? Let's hear your 2 cents. I was so moved. I didn't really realize, like, I heard bits and pieces here and there throughout my life. And, you know, the case studies that I did when I was in college. But I didn't really dive that deep into the FLDS. I really didn't. And I was looking for things that would help people understand there is a safe place. You can come out, you can discuss it, you can get help. And I came across that and I about fell out of my seat, just shocked. And I was like, wow, I didn't really realize that it was that bad. And this has been going on for decades.
You know, that's what bothers me is it's
made me feel real ignorant.
Everybody that's been on here talking tonight, except for myself, knew about this stuff, yet nobody's done anything. It continues to go on. That is just bizarre to me. You know, like I said, same with my brother's, I'll just call her his friend situation. You know, they knew, to me, I'd never heard of anything like that. Never. I never knew that was really a thing. I mean, how do you have a 14-year-old child that's never been to school? Where does our system drop the ball and say, look, we have a birth record of this child. They're collecting state aid, but this child's never been enrolled in school? Why?
Wow.
I mean, a 14-year-old that doesn't know how old they are. They've never had a birthday. Like I said, you should have heard my mom cried when she took them trick-or-treating. The 14-year-old was bawling that people, because she was so excited that people were so generous.
Little Jimmy's like, I know karate. Little Jimmy will be kung fu fighting. So cute. Wow.
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know this topic would get me so irritated, but it definitely does.
I told you it was going to be heavy and emotional filled, but it needs to be out there. Like, even though a lot of this stuff has been, you know, gone over and it's an older topic, it may not be like the church next door, but it very well could be something very similar to that type of situation living right next door. You never know. You never know. Like, you'll be like, oh, you know, like, you know, they have a mom and a dad and, you know, like their cousins or whatever, or older kids or whatever living there. And it could be a situation very close to this, but you have to keep your eyes open. And I've heard this saying before on Bullhorn Betty show is, if you see something, say something. And that's facts right there.
But like I said, everybody in here had heard about this or knew. It sounds like a lot of them knew about this.
Oh, I remember this being on the news many, many years ago.
You know, we've got this many people that knew about it, but nobody said anything or nobody's done anything. It's like, how can these people be that untouchable?
They're not exactly untouchable. They're hiding.
I guess.
They buy large pieces of land. So like, say you have a semi-large family, right? And you're kind of scattered through about the US and you want your whole family to live in one area. So you buy like, 100 acres and everybody has their own little individual house on there. It's a little compound. And it's a way to bring families together and, so you can have like large dinners for holidays and people aren't traveling and it makes the cost of living really low because you own it, right?
I get all that.
But they're using it in a manner, these compounds, they're using them in ways that they shouldn't be used. And I guess there's really no way to like, oh, someone just went and bought 1,700 acres and you know what's on it unless you're investigating it. Like,
right. But like I said earlier, it's like, so say for example,
I guarantee there's these situations out there right now that we just don't know about.
right. But like I said, so earlier, you guys mentioned that, a lot of these people are receiving state aid, government assistance of some sort. So if you have a birth record of children, which you need to get on the state aid, I'd hope, I'd hope you have to verify you have the children in some sort of way.
But not if they're home birthing. Think about it.
Right.
If they're home birthing, B, they don't even probably have birth certificates.
But how do you go to the States? How do you go and say, I need money for 3 children?
Illegals do it all the time.
I guess that's a problem with our system that needs addressed as well.
I'm sure little Jimmy will chime in here or Lambrow will chime in here. But if you think about it, illegals come over here and they get assistance and they don't have a U.S. birth certificate.
But if they say they've got 3 children in the home, they want to see 3 children.
They don't even ask them. You don't have to physically take the child down there.
I don't know. That's just bizarre to me. So I could go say that I have 17 kids at home and go file for state assistance. I don't know. Like I said, just another issue with our system, I guess. Me personally, I've been out of work for 4 months due to a health issue.
They don't have like adult aid there.
Yeah. So for me, if I was to ever even attempt to go to try to get state aid, even for just myself, and I'm not allowed to work. Thankfully I've got a checking account that I can live off of, but for me to go to try to get assistance, I'd get laughed at. Oh, you're a single male and you make X amount of money a year. You don't. Yeah,
but you don't. So, I mean, you would have to let them know, no, you're unemployed, you're disabled, and you need help, or you're on the verge of being homeless, and they will give you help. But I know that they're within states. I know there is, I don't know what it's called. There's like a limit of some sort. Oh, I can hear fireworks going off. It's crazy. I think that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Is I'm going to be doing a live showing the fireworks shows, and I hope you will all be here. I believe I'm going to take it to the water, so it's going to be fireworks over the water. I can't remember what I was saying now. Squirrel. What was I saying? B. Help. Oh, there's like limitations that they're given. Like you can only do it for so long or something like that. So little Jimmy says, I watched a documentary and I'm not sure, but they are hiding women, keeping them captive from leaving because she would be the biggest whistleblower. We'll have to look into that. They are giving their kids up to get them into the U.S. So some are kidnapping kids to get into the States. Yeah. And if you have one with you, a little one with you, then they let you in with the little one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they could literally take somebody else's kid, say this is my child and we need assistance.
Mm-hmm.
and they're more likely to get to stay.
Mm-hmm.
We got so many messed up systems out there. Yeah, don't get me started. I'll get all irritated. It's ridiculous though that there are so many people that need help out there, and there's never enough funding. Yet there are also 9,000 ways to take advantage of our system.
It's been all over the place. It really has. I think they need to rein some of that in. But we don't get to control the government. And this goes back to the ones with the money and in power, and they have these capabilities to control and allow law enforcement, judicial system.
Well, it's not
And
just that.
this is where, we as a community can step forward and, try to help change those laws, like Get to Know, trying to help change the stricter laws for these kind of incidences to make the repercussions much worse. Right now, people are getting slapped on the hand and sent back out in public. They're not rehabitable.
There is no rehab for some things.
No, there's not. It's not like, robbing a bank or stealing a car. It's not.
I mean, like I said, there's just some things that you can't be rehabbed from. I've eaten meat my whole life. So if you tell me that I'm never going to be able to eat a steak again, there's a 99% chance I'm still eating steak. People are creatures of habit. So they're going to continue to do what they did before, regardless of what you tell them.
And that's just too bad.
It is. But that's the reality of things. And I've just used the steak analogy because it's a lot less graphic than using some of the other ones. But I think everybody gets the idea. If it's something you enjoy, you're not giving it up as an adult because someone told you not to do it. You can show me all the videos in the world that, eating beef is horrible for me. I'm still going to eat a steak.
YT streamer. What do you mean, little Jimmy? So I've been doing a ton of paperwork, a ton of paper pushing this week. And I'm hoping that the outcomes to a lot of the work that I've been putting into this will become fruitful. Hopefully within a couple of weeks. I'm very excited to share, but I don't want to get too excited about it. And I don't want to share news early and then, if it doesn't come through, but we will see. So I have possibly some very good news coming up within the next couple weeks. Tell us more, Jimmy, about your YT streamer. So B, what else did you get out of this? Like, what would you see as some type of resolve other than the death penalty? Like, how do you see regulation?
There's certain things I just don't think you can rehab. You got to give fear. Like I said, the only solution, you put them in a jail cell. The worst thing that happens to them is they're guaranteed meals and a place to sleep. Now, the things that happen to them inside those cells may be pretty graphic.
So you say keep them alive?
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't. But that, like I said, that what I'm saying is keeping them alive is currently the worst or the best case scenario / in most people's eyes, especially theirs, because there's no consequences on the other side. There's no real consequences. They're not going to lose anything in their life.
So let's play devil advocate, and I don't condone this by any stretch. Okay.
Let's hear it.
What if it's a first-time offender?
I don't give a fuck.
Good job. So what if they say it was an accident?
You don't accidentally do that.
Okay.
There's
What
no
if,
excuse. There's no religious belief. There's no excuse for it. Zero.
so
There should be a
I
zero tolerance.
so I asked a few people what their thoughts on. We had a discussion a few days ago, and we were discussing the boy who was SA'd and ended up having a baby, the underage baby. And the question came about was like, how do you feel about this, or how would you react to a situation like this?
Still
And
tough abuse.
and so one of the comments were, well, what if that person is coming on to you?
Just like I said
I
earlier.
was like, my response to that statement, one, I must have been beat red with anger. And I said, if an adult can't maintain that part of them, then they shouldn't be free.
Like
If
I said
you
earlier,
logically in your mind cannot maintain, hold on one second. I had a window pop up. Your urges, then you shouldn't be free. You shouldn't.
no, you're absolutely right.
And my concern was how that person even came to that question to me, as in a question that came back to me. And I'm trying hard to understand and be thoughtful of someone else's, perspectives or ideas or their opinions. And it's very complex, and I understand. And little Jimmy says, what if he's 18 and she's 17 as in high school sweethearts?
You and I
I'd be
had
like,
that earlier.
we gotta wait. I get it. I'd be like, we gotta wait. I don't know. I think of that as, this is the law, and I'm always going to be that person that says wait till marriage. I'm kind of old fashioned that way. I would never promote premarital anything. No test driving cars before you buy them, I guess. You have to take that time to learn each other, get to know each other, know if you guys twist the toothpaste the same, see if you're equally yoked, etc., etc. So I'm never going to be the one that's, oh yeah, go out and test drive the car. But with that being said, looking at it from someone else's perspective, they could say, well, they've been high school sweethearts since they were a freshman in high school, and they're only 6 months apart. But that 6 months can get you 10 years. So why not just wait? And if you've been with this person that long, why don't you, be engaged, or, have like your major goals put in place? So when that other person is of legal age, then so be it. I still cannot agree or condone, even if they're only 6 months apart and one is 18 and one is not. Only because someone else may also come along and be like, well, I was 15 or I was 16. And it's like a little kid, you give them a piece of candy and they want the whole bag, So why even let that smallest thing be an exception?
So where I live, there is an exception for up to a 2-year difference. So if an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old are a couple,
and that becomes statutory.
Well, no, it's still consensual if it's within 2 years. I forgot how they do the law. It's a thin line. I think like you got to have parents' permission, and what parent's going to give permission for that? But anyway, it becomes a sketchy part of the law. But like I said earlier, you take that same couple that's 15 and 18, they are at two completely different places in life. You got a 15-year-old that's, just starting high school and concerned about getting their driver's license, while the 18-year-old is going to be, they're thinking about, hey, look, I'm about to go to college and, start my life with this. But it's, I might get my first full-time job, or either way, even if they're not going to college, you're at two different mental states at that point, completely different, even though it's only a couple years. Now, you take a 21-year-old and a 24-year-old, they're on the same page. They're probably going to be in the same point in their life. They're real close. But that's why when you deal with children, it's a whole nother circumstance. When I was 26, I dated an 18-year-old. She had been in college for 2 years already, and we were on very similar planes in life. Whereas had she been 16, although it's only a 2-year difference, we are on two completely different wavelengths in life, two different paths completely. So that's why when people
and what gives you that assumption
that a 16-year-old, because a 16-year-old, I can speak firsthand. My mother had me at 16. She told me that was the biggest mistake she's ever made in her life. Not that I am a mistake, but choosing to get married and having a child at 16 years old. Worst case scenario, she was a child. My dad at the time was 20 years old.
No, I meant what gives you the assumption that if there's only a 2-year difference, they're like a 16 and an 18-year-old. My question is, do you realize that the human brain does not fuse until about the age of 24?
I get all that.
25.
We're not talking about the brain, though. We're talking about.
But how can you justify a long-term decision? People think of sex as it's an easy thing. Doesn't take a whole lot of knowledge, but sex causes emotion. Emotion causes attachment.
You're right.
What if you get attached to this person and they're not attached to you and they play you? But it goes way beyond that. The human brain does not fuse till around the age of 24. And I will tell you what it is exactly here in a second.
But that comes to more of a maturity thing. And they say,
and that's what I was getting at. And that's exactly what I was getting at, was the maturity part of it. So how can they consent at 16 or 17 if they don't have the maturity level, especially in females and males? There's a huge difference. Males actually mentally age, maturity wise, slower than girls. So
right.
if you have an older girl or say a 16-year-old girl, like I believe, what is it? Like a 5 or 6 year mental difference. So if you have one that's really young, I mean, little Jimmy says, okay, I'm stretching. Okay, I believe parents consent. I was younger. Family values were strong. It definitely not like today. Kids are having kids. Exactly. My 18-year-old hormones ran down a 24-year-old. Well, maybe she ran me down. Okay.
Yeah, but that's just it. Now, if you look at that, though, 24-year-old and an 18-year-old, that's that 6-year difference that she was just talking about in mental maturity. So you guys may have actually been right on, the same wavelength. You may have been thinking the same.
In their 20s. So I got to get my seating arrangement figured out.
But
2 computers, 2 mice. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's no way a 15-year-old is ever going to think like an adult or even have enough life experience. It's not even just maturity. It's life experience. A 15-year-old doesn't have enough life experience to decide they want to be with this person for the rest of their life. Because whether you can say, hey, well, we can just split up. It's not a matter of breaking up. If they have sex and they have a child involved at that point,
I mean, there's no guarantee that you're going to get pregnant, but there's no guarantee that you're not. So
Correct.
if you have a child, there's a possibility of a child being involved. It's not something you can change.
Little Jimmy said, oops. So it says the important parts of the brain aren't fully developed until your mid-20s. So what I think I was talking to you, Bill, about it, and I was like, you have these kids and you put them on mental meds, whether it's ADHD meds, stress meds, whatever. And these kids are not, their little brains aren't fully fused and they're not fully developed. And you're introducing these medications into their brains.
Stimulants,
All kinds of things. I was BMX, skateboarding, etc. when I was 15. Yeah, when I was telling that story the other night, Jimmy, about the little boy and the babysitter, I was like, he should be thinking about Legos at 12, not raising babies. He should be thinking about his G.I. Joes and having mud pie fights in the backyard.
and that's why when I grew up, unfortunately, my friends and I mean, the first one of my friends that was active was at 13 years old. So it is stupid. We thought we were tougher than hell. We were gangsters.
80s were the blast.
So, well, we were stupid. But as a child, we didn't know any better. And I missed out on a lot of fun that I should have had as a child because of that. I mean, people to this day still tell me, why don't you relax more? Why don't you laugh more? It's not me. It's not how I grew up. We lived a different lifestyle.
Do you know our brains actually shrink back down after the age of 14?
I forget shit every day, so I believe that.
It says kids grow up so fast, so do their brains. A child's brain grows rapidly between birth and the age of 6, when it's about 90% of adult size. The main nerve pathways are in place by the age of 2, and the brain is at its largest between 11 and 14. But it isn't everything. But size isn't everything. There's a lot of fine tuning that happens to the brain until the brain stops growing. And that is at the age between mid-20s is what they was saying. Now, with that being said, so say you have a 9-year-old and she's supposed to make a justified decision to be married to a geriatric old man.
That's just it.
That's balding, has a belly. Like, how that is not attractive.
I feel like you're describing me. What are you saying?
Okay, B. I mean, like, what? And in his brain, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, in his brain, where could he possibly be thinking? Like, they have no communication, like they can't relate to anything. Like, what? I mean, are they that immature? I guess you go backwards, they say, when you get older. So, I mean, are they both in the floor playing with Legos and Barbies at this point? Stop saying those bad words, Inky. What did I say?
Did
I still cuss? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cuss, guys.
I mean, I get the idea. Like, I know why a lot of men. I've got a friend who's my age, late 40s, and he's dating a 23-year-old girl. I say girl. I use that term loosely, but
see, her brain ain't even fused.
But people look at him and say, "How could you do that?" I get why. It's not just because, and it's beyond physical beauty.
So do you look at him as a pedophile?
No.
Why? What justifies it besides legalities?
I'm not saying that it's morally right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to use that word. Beep.
Yeah, so I'm not justifying and saying it's morally right. And I said child, even though she's not. But I understand why at that point. This is an adult. She's college educated. She has a degree. She owns her own home. She's done. She is living an adult life. Barely, but she's there. It's not a true definition of a child by anybody's definition. But I get why for him. He explained it to me one day, and I said, "Dude, how do you do it?" And his reply, and I thought about it, and I was like, "You're right. You date a woman who is
our age, late 40s, even in her 30s. She's been screwed over by 16 guys in her life.
God, I hope not.
You never know. Guys cheated on her, husband left her, whatever. So she's got a very disgruntled look out at life.
At that young of an age,
No,
she's
no,
not even grown
but
yet.
I'm talking in their 30s and 40s,
Oh.
women his age. Then he encounters, he
I
works
don't
in a
know.
business.
My brain just fused recently, so
He works in a business where he meets younger women all the time at work. So he meets a girl, doesn't know her real age, but she's younger. She is very charismatic. She's very carefree. She doesn't have all the negativity that goes along with a 50-year-old woman that's been, like I said, divorced twice, 3 times, mad at her kid's dad, or whatever the case is. She doesn't have all that negativity built into her. And I mean, I'm sure I'm the same way to a point. It's probably why I'll never be married. I've dealt with enough twisted ass people in my life that I have trust issues. I don't trust anybody anymore. I think they're all going to do what I think they're going to do because life has shown me that's how people act, regardless of how you treat them.
yeah, but you can't hold that. You can't carry that with you. That you can't carry that. So,
but
I don't know if I turn
you
that
say
back
that,
on.
but take just bear with me. You say that, but take this into consideration. Say you're a mother, someone hurts your child, assaults your child, whatever the case may be, even if they beat your child. Now, and you're in a relationship with this person.
Mm-hmm.
You end that relationship because of said abuse.
Right.
Now you fast forward to the next person you meet. Are you going to be more careful around that person?
Well, what you do is so typically when you go through it, hold on. So typically when you go through a situation, you learn from it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So there's things that you learn. You're like, oh, I enjoy this. There's things that you learn that you're like, I don't enjoy this and I don't want this to happen again. So with that being said, when you come across things that are unpleasant to you, your body builds up natural red flags and you're like, okay, so I've been in a scenario similar to this or whatnot. This is a red flag. Then you have to be more aware of what is going on, not only in your relationship, but within yourself. Am I being overly worried, or is this factual evidence that I need to be worried about? And that's that learning curve that some people don't learn, and they keep doing the same mistakes over and over and over again. But if you take those red flags and you utilize, you learn, you get tools, little mental tools, and we will be going over those too. We'll be doing a course on that, is, having a toolbox of things to help you learn to cope and red flags and etc. But
you're right.
You get these tools, your body, you get these red flags, and so your brain should automatically be like, okay, well, this is could possibly be going on, and then you learn from those mistakes, and so you don't make them again. Now there is cases where the scenario may be different, and then you make a similar mistake. It won't be the same one, but a similar one. And you're like, gosh darn, I got back into a bad relationship. It's kind of like you come across a guy and he's really into you. For your instance, you come across a girl and she's really into you. And all of a sudden in the first couple of weeks, she's in love. This is a big one. And it's called love bombing. And she's just like, oh, I'm just so into you, Bill. You're just like the greatest man on the planet. You can do no wrong. One, it feeds your ego, and it's love bombing. It feeds your ego, and in your brain, you have to go, hey, I've been in a scenario. I'm kind of leery about getting close to somebody, so you withdraw, right?
Yep.
And either this is going to be the turning point for her going, okay, well, maybe I came on too strong. Maybe I need to get back and learn him better. That's what you should do. For you being in your situation, that red flag comes up. Oh, is she getting too close to me? Is she going to hurt me like so and so did? That little red flag comes up. Maybe I should back up a little bit and see how things progress. So you kind of like withhold a little bit of that emotion, but not in a bad way. You still want to learn that person and make sure that that person is their reasoning with you is valid, that it's not being out of use or a type of abuse, like whether it's financial, mental, emotional, sexual, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I say run like hell to the love bombs. Yeah, because people who typically love bomb are narcissistic people, or there's someone that are in the fight or flight mode.
So real quick, you just backed up what I said. So you, from that traumas that we have in life,
But not everything has to be a trauma. What I'm saying is
that you learn to react differently.
You learn to react differently, but I'm not saying don't completely block someone out, because if you completely block that other person out and disengage from that relationship and they're not like that other person,
You push them away.
You're pushing them away. So
and that's why he enjoys the company of the younger lady. She hasn't had those traumas. So if he says, "Hey, I'm going to jump on my Harley," and we're going, like that guy, I know he plays pool.
But he's being the abuser though. If he's hopping from woman to woman and they're all in their 20s, think about the damage that he's doing to these ladies.
I never said he did that.
Is this not the same guy that we've talked about before that's had like 50 different girlfriends?
No.
Oh.
But he'll jump on it. So his relationship prior to this, I knew the girl as well, and he plays pool. He's actually very competitive. He gets into tournaments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And his ex was his age, our age, whatever. And she would say, every time you jump on that effing bike, you're going out to pick up whores.
Hey.
Or if you're going to the bar, he goes to play pool tournaments. He's not going to the bar to pick up women. I mean, he wins. I would bet the guy probably makes an extra 30 grand a year playing pool.
Damn, I'm in the wrong business.
Exactly. So it's something he's serious about. But every time, he would go play pool, he'd jump on his bike, because that's one of those things that he enjoys doing. And it just happened to run, riding season and in the leagues that he runs in are kind of the same time of year. So he'd be on his bike. So now she's got a history of abuse or trauma that's happened in her life from somebody that would take off on a bike. And she's got, she associates the bar with doing something negative. Not that he's doing it. He is so far from being that type of guy. It's insane. He's probably one of the most loyal guys I know, next to myself. But he is a very, very good guy. But he said that young girl never questions him, never doubts him, never gives him crap when he says, "Look, I'm going to jump on the bike. I'm going to go play pool for a little while and, come home."
So Jimmy says, "I actually fell for someone fast 18 months ago and it went south fast." And that could be on both sides. Like, so women tend to outwardly express, "Oh, baby, I love you. You're so cool," much quicker than men, where men emotionally internalize it and they fall very quickly. I have read and did some research on this, and men typically fall more deeply in love with women faster than women fall in love with men. Women are just more outwardly with it off the rip.
I think
little Jimmy is okay now, though. He said,
"You need a hug, Jimmy. I'll give you a hug.
He needs a bee hug." Wow. So back to what you were saying, Dee. So, go ahead.
I was just
he said he actually fell for her. So, Jimmy, did you fall for her before she fell for you? Or did she love bomb you and then make a hiatus? I'm very curious. From another man's perspective. I love getting like men's perspective on relationships. Little Jimmy loves hugs. He said it was at the same time, actually.
I don't know. In my experiences, it's I'm just too. What's the word I'm looking for?
So, since I can't remember that, B, why you're thinking, going back to your friend, the one that likes the younger girls. Now, you have things called cougars.
It's not a regular thing. It's just that he happens to be with one now.
Okay. You have a thing called cougars.
He says he's never been happier.
And then you have men that like to date younger girls, and I can't remember what they're called. Some of them call them sugar daddies, sugar babies, and all that good stuff. Now, just because they're of the age, of the legal age, people justify it. Well, they're 18. It should be fine. And yes, I agree that there is that legal age limit. But nowhere in your mind does it set like, wow, I was 20 when this baby was being born.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. But if he's happy, she's happy. They're not financially dependent on each other. They're not dependent on each other in any kind of way. They actually truly enjoy each other's company.
No. I'm not. Okay. So, with that being said, this is a whole nother road. So he likes her because she's independent. He doesn't feel he has to take care of her.
No, he likes her because he doesn't get doubted for everything he says or does. Those just happen to be further perks that go along with it.
So what if she wasn't financially independent?
Oh, that may have put him in a different situation. I don't know that. I can't speak for him. I just know what he had originally told me. He goes, I could literally do anything, and you're
fine, Sancho.
He goes, she trusts me. He goes, she trusts me. She believes that if I say I'm not going to cheat, I'm going to the bar to play pool.
Do you think she cares?
Meet some friends. What's that?
Do you think she cares?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? With that much of an age difference?
With that much of an age difference. He's got a little girl.
This is where I would wish there was more women in here, because I really would like a woman's perspective on this. A woman that dates older men is typically for stability. It's not. I mean, Sancho, somebody help me right now.
No, you're fine. I mean, to give you a little bit about the both of them, he's in management. He makes probably 70, 80 grand a year. She is an accountant. She makes about 80 grand a year. They both have their own homes. He's a single dad. She has no children. That woman raises his little girl like it's her daughter.
Which one? Sorry.
The girlfriend raises his daughter. He's got like a 12-year-old daughter, and she treats her like she's her own.
Oh, so now he has a built-in nanny.
No, but I've seen them come into my old business and look shopping for Christmas gifts for her father.
Little Jimmy's like, they are both well-rounded individuals.
Yes. Well-rounded like my belly.
And he has 1 foot on a banana peel.
No. Yes. So, like I said, they're
I don't judge. I'm just saying. I'm just saying,
don't get me wrong. The first time I saw her, I gave him all kinds of hell. I was like, she's gorgeous. I was like, I didn't know you had a daughter. I gave him shit. Don't get me wrong. I was very judgmental. But after I got to know the two of them, I was like, wow, he just found a really good girl.
And you think there's absolutely no motive?
I don't know what motive she would have.
1 foot on a banana peel.
Was she waiting for him to kick? I mean, he's older. He's not that old. She's gonna wait a long time if she does. I mean, they just get along. It's insane. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I didn't question them at first, but that's just it,
See,
Jimmy.
that's exactly what I think, Jimmy.
She doesn't need his security. She when they met, she already had her own home. She has her own house.
Of course, that's great. But then do they live together?
They do now.
Okay.
So
I just want you to think about it. She no longer has a mortgage.
No, she still has a mortgage.
How? If she got rid of her house?
She didn't get rid of her house. She rents it out.
Okay. It's being paid for.
Yes, she still works. They take the money from her mortgage or for the rental of her home, and they're putting it together for their wedding.
Okay. So back to what I was saying. There is a motive. The house has become income. She no longer has her own mortgage. She no longer has to foot all of the bills on her end by herself. There is a group income. Okay.
That's with a 50-year-old woman as well.
Okay. So you had 2 individual incomes. You had 2 individual sets of bills. She now got rid of her bills, moves in with him, right?
She got rid of one bill. Well, she didn't get rid of the bill. She just has a little bit of profit that comes in for it.
Okay, so she doesn't have to pay an electric bill there and water and gas and all the other things that come with it, like maintenance and...
No, you still got to do maintenance on a rental. But yeah, there's a little bit of...
But she's getting paid. She is getting paid for... And I guarantee it's going to be at least the amount, if not more, rent than she has in a mortgage payment.
But he benefits from that as well. She pays half of the mortgage on the house that he lives in. She also pays half of the bills. Gas, lights. So his bills have gone down.
So she's still making out. Her bills have depleted. Okay.
So it is.
Okay, you're not getting it. You're wanting to bicker. You're not getting. I'm not trying to debate. I'm trying to get you to understand from a woman's perspective, not from B's perspective. A woman's perspective. I know, little Jimmy. Now we're bickering. To her, she just let off a load of shit and said, okay, I'm going to be with you. I'll split the bills. Okay. And she has an extra income. Okay.
Okay.
Women go into flight or fight mode, like save mode, like they have survivor mode. Okay. And when they do that, they tend to be with older men that are already established. One, she's a young girl. She doesn't have to worry about being cheated on, typically. And either no bills or very little, comparatively speaking, than to her being by herself, is what I'm getting at. So there is still a motive on her end, whether you want to know it or not, or believe it or see it or whatever, there's still a motive there. Then if something happens to him, she has her house, his house, and probably an insurance policy.
But that's just it. So the money that she makes from the home goes into their joint bank account.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So his bills have now gone down at his home. They were cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
That money still goes into said joint bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And what does her age have to do with the difference in that same man marrying a woman that's 50 years old?
Oh, no. Women at 50 do it too.
Exactly. So it's not that she's younger.
It's more likely if a girl insurance policy. The little emojis are great. Thanks. What I'm saying is, typically when younger women like that get with men that are twice their age, there is a motive, and it's very rarely on. I find that big belly and gray hair just so very attractive when she could find someone her own age that is much more attractive. Yes, there is a thing called love. There is a thing called unconditional love. There's a thing called loyalty. I get it. Jimmy, those emojis are funny. The little grave, the little hole, the little skeleton digging, and the Can I have some lip balm before I go?
Sounds like Jimmy wants to take it off your lips.
My lips.
Yes.
Oh,
Jimmy wants to love it.
I give everyone kisses. Oh, here, we'll put some lip balm on you, Jimmy. Hold on. Careful, it may plump your lips now.
Jimmy, you're going to run around with pink lips now.
No, it's like a clear color.
That's what she's just telling you. She just wants to see you run around with pink lips.
Well, it's kind of like a clear iridescent color. But it's so I don't get chapped lips because I know I chew on them a lot. He said, shh. Shh.
We're on to you, Jimmy.
So, okay, say there's no motive.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare, though.
No motive any different than any other woman's.
Ink lips. So back to the amoeba question. I still see when there's that large of an age gap that it would still have some amoeba tendencies. If the girls are that young. Hi, baby son. What are you doing, sexy guy? Hi.
That's my dog.
Hi, baby. Hi, Arctic Wolf. Dear Papa. Is it the Papa? Oh, are you begging?
I just realized all these new people are probably going to think that I actually look like this guy in the picture.
That's the baby, son. Baby. High five. Hi.
Leave my dog alone.
He said he's German. Salute. Hi, the baby. What? Did you have a fun walking? How are you doing today, Arctic?
That's my Roro. Leave him alone.
You see him pawing at me? He's looking at me. What's the matter? You want me to get your blankie? Okay, here's your little blankie. No, you're not spoiled at all. Don't let anybody tell you that.
Little Jimmy, did you know you could sign up to be an inker?
Yeah. You can join me in the inkers.
You can be a little inker.
Yeah, you could start off as a little inker, and if you decide you want to start doing bingo, you could graduate to, intermittent inking. Aw, you made me ink. No, he said he had cotton in his pockets. Oh, no, he didn't have no cotton.
Lint.
He didn't have lint either, he said.
Well, I told him to go get some out of the dryer.
Oh, he might have a little lint there. What are you up to, Arctic Wolf? So, yeah, that's just my perspective is just deep down inside, I still think that there is a slight tendency. They can't go under the limit because then it would become illegal. So they push the envelope as far as they can.
So it sounds to me like you think they're both using each other.
Yeah, of course. But everybody uses, you've heard me say this before and you didn't like it when I said it the first time. Everyone uses everyone to some degree, whether it is consented and mutual or not. And it is fact.
So I know you in real life. What have I used you for?
You use me for communicating, just like I do you. We communicate a lot. So it's the conversation, companionship, someone to talk to. It's not bad using. It's still being used.
Sorry, I was laughing at Johnny or Jimmy.
Oh, what did he say? If I could find a funny, healthy, smart woman my age. He acts like he's 90. What are you doing? You're rubbing your face all over everything. I have fabric softener stuck in my damn underwear.
You got to get the liquid kind, Jimmy. It'll solve that problem.
He has a little dryer sheet in there.
Just rubbing his boys raw.
Ouch. At least they smell pretty.
Yeah. Like moonlight scented.
Moonlight scented. What's... It's a full moon today, by the way.
I don't know. That's a gain scent. I just looked at it the other day when I did laundry.
Arctic Wolf, did you see the new button I have? My internet is messing up. I'm trying to hang out, and the video feed is cracking because it's raining here. Aw. It might have to reboot my machine. I don't know. Okay.
Yes, you were missing Inky telling me about how women like to use men.
Everybody uses everybody to some extent, whether it's for companionship, emotional, physical, financial. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's in a bad way. It's not what I mean. I'm just saying we all utilize other human beings, whether it's energy. Some people have really good energy. Like, for instance, when you get like Arkansasy on here, for instance, I'm not using her in a bad way, but her energy is so funny and so lively that you can like almost absorb it when she's on panel or in chat and you're laughing with her. She shares that beautiful energy that she has.
Are you crazy? That woman, I feel like she would shank me if she got a chance.
Yeah, she might.
I like her, but I think she would shank me.
She probably would.
Probably got like a shib stuck in her bra.
Let me see if I can get this video. Let's
see.
Is it
Arkansas sticking somebody?
No. Not in the slightest.
Actually, I think Watch Her Crazy would be the one to stick you. Just saying. Uh-oh.
Little Psychology Today.
Little Jimmy is fast on the emojis.
Here you go. These are the reasons why I ask these types of questions.
Me too, Jimmy. Me too. I went on vacation last year. I spent 3 weeks in the woods alone and enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, you stay in here. Let me
No.
I just have to reset it because nothing's popping up.
See, you're going to abandon me. See, this is what she does, Jimmy. Just remember this.
There, it finally popped up. I don't want to lose this page. Hold on.
Oh, yeah? I got super chat receipts.
Joel,
Yes, I know. I know, Jimmy.
there's no more lag. Read
You
it.
live close to me, Jimmy?
Unrecognized sign of that. And this is from Psychology Today. Scrolling through different awareness days, I noticed April was a busy month. Aside from the days recognizing fresh celery and pecans, it was on National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. That color is purple. Mental health and other helping professionals often see child SA, meet hearing children being abused, etc., etc. Grapes, amoebas is not a synonym with criminality. The vision of someone nefarious stopping at nothing to hurt kids. The reflective idea of amoebas means criminal, but is not given, is also not a given. No, I'm not talking about they have mental illness and we shouldn't criminalize that. But first things first. Older people who, younger people aren't always, is defined by Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, 5th edition. Reoccurrent, intense, generally of the age of 13 years or younger, and are often the same sex. The person who acted on urges, etc., etc., etc. We already know what all this is. Some people who do this are sociopathic opportunists and predators, not discriminating on whom they harm. Now, what my question was, is there those tendencies? Oh, he says, I'm in Ohio. My question was, is there a tendency for that being a case where there's like 20 years age gap? So hold on. That is my question. Too many pages are open. Okay. Let's see. That's Reddit. I don't see me using a Reddit page. No, I don't want that one either. I want something that's like legit medical evidence. I was just showing Inky my favorite place there in Hocking Hills. Oh, that was the other day, B.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Just, I didn't mean like 5 minutes ago.
See, some women get infuriated by it because they feel that they're no longer attractive enough for certain types of men. But I really think it's more psychological than that. I think it goes back to they can't go too young and they don't want it to look awkward. So they date in a different age bracket where it seems okay. So anything over 21. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Let's see.
But you get some people that are much older that look much younger. I mean, when we would go hang out, I've had people ask me, how old is she?
Huh?
It said some people look much younger than their age, so it doesn't alarm people as much. But like when we would go out, hang out, whatever, I had a couple people ask me how old you were. Like they thought I was too old.
Because I'm I was gonna say because I'm old. I'm old.
Oh, you're like in Toledo area, not the docks or nothing, Jimmy, but
Toledo, Ohio.
there's nothing good there. There's somebody else that we used to come into your room. I can't remember who, but somebody was in that same area before. They were like a little over an hour away from me.
So does your friend feel entitled to anything?
Mine?
This friend of yours. Does he have like an entitlement?
No, he's probably the most easygoing guy you'll ever meet.
Predators are chameleons. They know the intimacy is important, so they pretend to be whatever they need them to be. They do this to gain their trust by their heart is not in it, but their heart is not in it. Instead,
You're right.
They placate their way towards a false intimacy. They demand intimate allegiance, but they will never truly share their own hearts. This keeps the victim confused and off balance. He said he's almost in Pennsylvania. Holy shiznit. That's a long way. I like Pennsylvania. I actually really, really liked Philly. Philly is really nice.
Ugh.
Like downtown Philly. So who wears the pants in that family, him or her?
Honestly, they don't get into that type of stuff. Like I'm telling you,
how well do you know him?
I know him very well.
So you know that there's people that have known people really, really well, and they'd be like, John Bob, I could never see him hurting his wife and kids, and yet they're in a car in the bottom of a lake.
You're right. There's always that possibility. I'm not saying that the guy is an angel, nor is the woman. I just know that when she is not around, he still likes to brag how he's the luckiest guy in the world and can't believe that he found what he was looking for in a woman 20 years younger than him. Like I said, it's not his normal thing to date someone like that. He just just found someone that didn't make his life stressful, I guess.
So either he is really mentally like he's still on that vibrant young state of mind, okay? Kind of like
could be. I mean,
no, hold on. You're the one that knows him, not me. So I'm gonna tell you. So, for instance, even though at my age, I still have a car that I like to have a booming stereo in, and I still dance around with my kids and play video games with them. So I have a younger sense of state of mind because I have kids ranging from 30 down. Okay.
Yep.
So either he has that same mental state where he has a young mind sense, like his personality type. Okay. To where he can relate on that immature of a level. Not saying she's immature. What I'm saying is he can relate at her level. Because when you have someone born in just 10 years apart, they're like the decade apart is like a total different era. Okay. So unless you can relate to somebody that is in a completely different era, it's hard to blend. Does that make sense? So for instance, like if I say my aunt was a guy or what, no, I'll say I met somebody my aunt's age.
Here, I'll just save you
in her 60s or whatever. I think she's 60. Let's see, hold on. She's 64. So for me to date someone from that era, I would So to date someone from that era, um, it's a music difference. It's a thought process difference. They could have been reared different. All those different levels. So when you're trying to blend minds that are raised differently like that, it's kind of hard. It's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I have a hard time sometimes relating to like older family members because we don't even think the same. We don't deal with life the same.
Here, I'll help you out. He is very young at heart, like I said.
That's what I was getting at. Either he's
Yes.
mentally very young at heart to where he
Yes.
can relate to her youthful mindset.
Yes, he still has the kicker box in the trunk of his car, riding around, blasting music. He rides a Harley. He also rides a sport bike. He still goes out to the clubs. He still enjoys life.
Little Jimmy, it's next week.
Yes, Inky's about to be old. Oh, I think she froze up on us.
No, why did I freeze?
Oh. Hard to tell with those lights in the background.
Huh?
Your little lights in the background, because they kind of, sorry, I got hiccups. They stay the same. It kind of makes me,
yes,
no,
sir, little Jimmy.
Inky hasn't seen 27 for a year or two.
What? Only going to be 30.
I know her real age, Jimmy. Don't let her fool you.
I'm only going to be 30.
Are Inky years different than human years? Is it like a 1.75 to 1 ratio?
Only going to be 30. Inky, you're not old. I know. That's what I keep telling Bill, but he doesn't listen to me.
Inky is a lot of things.
Oh, goodness.
I'm not going to say she's old. I'm just going to say she's a lot of things. Now she's
old is not one.
At what age?
I like to pretend.
At what age do you become old?
I don't know. Isn't that a mental thing?
I don't know. We were just talking about that. That kind of relates to our little conversation, doesn't it? We're going to start calling you Smokey in a minute.
Well, if I would actually smoke it and not let it burn to death.
You could just stop altogether at that point.
No, why? I'm healthy as an ox.
Really? I'm going to go. You give me the number to your doctor. I want to call your doctor and ask him what they think about smoking.
They'll say, it's great. My doctor chews tobacco, so whatever.
Yeah, it's the same conversation I just had with my sister, who is 45 years old, and they just diagnosed with the early stages of emphysema.
Arctic Wolf says, you're 30. Wow, that's a perfect age for me. Yep, 30. 30 it is.
That's the age she's going to stick to.
Yep. Wow.
Just don't ask.
I'm glad.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad that it didn't become a debate. I'm just curious. Like, I really want to find some medical research on how that works out, as far as, you know, the fight or flight, the in survival mode, how that progresses into a relationship, instability, and how they relate to each other. That would be a great person to interview on how they relate within their relationship. Like when they have stuff that's like from huge age gaps.
Maybe.
I just think it's cool. Little Jimmy said 27, huh? I'm trying to go for the 25, but I think I'm getting too old for that.
I'm gonna start telling people that I'm 35.
Okay. Your heart is.
My heart's better than 35.
What, your heart ticking at like 20 now?
They were impressed today. I was kicking ass on the old treadmill.
Oh, and another thing, you guys, I am going to be working on attaching my store for merch and stuff to a link in the on the panel where, when you look at someone's live stream and if they have merch and stuff. So because I have my own store, I'm going to work on attaching it to that. What else? The memberships, the merch, super stickers, super chats. It's been busy. What's been going on the YouTube street, you guys? I'm out of the loop today. Shh. You can just whisper. We'll just whisper it in my ear.
You don't want to talk about drama?
No, I don't. There was drama.
There's always drama on YouTube. I did hit 5.5 miles an hour on the old treadmill today, though.
Wow. I'd be lucky to you're not working on 50, you're like 45.
A little older than that.
So do you see the glass half full or half empty?
I'm 2.5 years younger than you.
Little Jimmy says, I seen some kind of charity organizations you do, didn't I, Inky? Yes. I'm the founder of Tainted Inc. Yes, sir. And hopefully here soon, I'll be able to share that amazing news, or you'll be able to see it on my page. I'm very excited, stepping up in the world. Nope, you got the right person. Gray Pill. Gray Pill is having a podcast tomorrow, I do believe. It is. Go ahead, Bill. You can explain. What is FLDS?
It is the Founders of Latter-day Saints.
Nope.
Fundamentals.
Very good.
Or fundamentalist of Latter-day Saints. Basically a bunch of chomos that need executed, but
Gray Pill said it's at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let me see. I can go grab his link in case anybody would like to. Oh, wrong mouse. I hate it when I do that. Wrong mouse.
So wealthy. You just got mice everywhere, computers everywhere. When I grow up, I want to be like you.
Gray Peel. Gray Peel, where is you? Where you is? Oh, I don't think it's. Did you change your picture? Oh, no, I found it. Okay. And let's see. He has gone live tomorrow. And I'm trying to find. Here it is, the upcoming one. Is this it? No, that's in 35 hours. Okay, let me go back one. This one.
I was wondering what lined up meant, Jimmy. He had me wondering.
So let me share this link. Copy. Here is Gray Pill's link. Gray Pill, can you confirm that this one is you?
We were Barlow.
Yes, we were. Feel free to chime in. There is Gray Pill's link for tomorrow, his live tomorrow.
You'll have to rewatch the video, Barlow. We had some people that have actually experienced it firsthand, and some survivors.
Awesome. Yes, I'm going to be doing a whole series on this topic. I just wanted to make sure I put the right link in chat. Yes, I hope to see Ferret back too. Wonderful, wonderful. Also, EQ is very knowledgeable on that topic also.
Oh, Barlow was in it as well. See, that's crazy. I'd never heard of this. Well, not really. I'd heard of it, but get all these people that keep coming in saying they were a part of it when they were younger.
So Barlow says, I was born into the church, left when I was 19. Wow. If you would like to share, you're welcome to share. Just not too personal. No real personal stuff.
But that's what I was saying, Jimmy. I don't see how so many people are aware of this, yet it still continues. Like there's no way to stop it.
Government.
You know, everybody says it's hidden.
Government. Yes. Let's see here. Okay, so hit that thumbs up button. I'm going to hit it now. I like his little podcast. Great Pill has some great little podcasts. They're not little though. And they're so well organized and, you know, take turns talking. It's not like a rat race. It's great.
I personally like it when there's 75 people on a panel screaming at each other.
Oh, no, you don't. Okay, I'm hitting that thumbs up. Got it. Oh, I already got it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Ferret was saying earlier, Jimmy.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, goodness gracious. So tomorrow, I won't be doing a podcast from my desk. It'll probably be like 9 o'clock Pacific time or around there somewhere. I'm going to go live, show off some fireworks shows, that kind of fun stuff. And then on Wednesday, we will come back and we will resume this. And I appreciate everyone that's been in here tonight. You all are doing great. Love you all. Thank you, Gray Pill, for stopping by. You're always great little visitor. Love it. I love having conversation. He's a deep person. Little Jimmy says, don't go to LC's, Bill.
No, there's too much chaos in there. I don't like chaos in my life.
I'm enough, right?
Yeah, Inky is enough. Between Inky and my sister, I've got enough chaos. They're all females in general are just a handful. That's what it is.
I've always thought I was fun chaos, but okay, I got you.
You can be fun.
I'm always
Sometimes,
fun.
sometimes you're just chaos.
Oh, whatever.
He said, "Do not." There's somebody over there that doesn't like me anyway, Jamie.
Who?
A certain person that's been booted out of here a couple times for causing problems.
I don't know anybody that's ever been booted out of my channel.
I booted him,
You better not be
and
talking about my Wessie.
and Nance booted him for the same thing.
You guys be nice to my Wes. I like my Wes.
I blocked him. I don't see him.
Oh, well, then I have to go check to make sure he's not blocked.
Not from there. I did it outside of here.
Oh,
Warren was the one who positioned himself to become the prophet. He was the principal at our school. Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
Well, on Wednesday, I can send you, if you email me, Wes is mean to Jimmy Inky. I don't want anybody to ever be mean to anybody in my chats.
Well, that's when I was bumping him out, timed him out.
No, you just give him a little lecture and it's fine. Barlow, if you email me, you're welcome to come up and talk about it. You don't have to go on camera. I just need to see you to make sure you're you and I don't get P-bombed or anything weird.
P-bombed.
And I put my email in the chat. So if you would like to, you're welcome to. But I'm going to hop off here for this evening, you guys. I'm going to get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. And hopefully I get some good news tomorrow. And I will take you guys to go see the fireworks show. How's that sound, B?
I should have did that last night.
Well, tomorrow's like the big day, so we got to do it on the big day.
Well, the ones last night were the big ones on the lake next to me.
Well, I'm going to go find some fireworks in a nice body of water.
Yes, that's what's next to me. You know what, Jimmy? I got your back. It gives you problems, you let me know. Sorry, got to protect little Jimmy. He's a little guy.
Don't mess with the little guy.
Well, it was nice seeing you, Barlow.
And thank you very much. Thank you very much. Barlow, we also do bingo. If you happen to like that type of thing, it's a little bit more of a rowdy crowd. It's not as serious. It's about a lot of joking, having fun, having a good time. And all the donations go to Tainted Ink organization. Yeah. So I hope to see you there sometime.
It's a bunch of wild and crazy men.
Yeah, it is kind of wild and crazy. B, thank you for being up here with me. I greatly appreciate you as always. Little Jimmy, thank you for coming in and hanging out and, hanging in there strong. I know it's been a little quiet in the chat tonight. I think it's probably pretty busy on the YouTube streets today. Pill, it's always a wonderful experience having you here. You're a great dude. Night, everyone. Love you all.
All right. Good night.